All right, hello everyone. My name is Speedy. Welcome to NotSoSpeedRuns, and we are here with Blades in the Dark 6 and 20. I am joined by. All right, hello everyone. My name is. Forgot to mute myself again. Joined by my fantastic cast and crew. Every time hashtag pro streamer.
It's okay. Mike forgot to do it last night as well.
Yeah. It's the second you hear your own voice, it's just like, but yeah, thank you guys so much for coming out here. We are joined by our lovely cast and crew. As you can see, Louise unfortunately is not here today. AccidentalLegend. She is off she's off drinking beer in the sewers of Prague or something. It's something way cooler than whatever we're doing. So. She'll be back next week for sure, but for now, she's a goat. Until then, let's go around and say hi to our wonderful cast. Let's start with Trendane.
Hi.
You want to tell us?
More than that. Okay. Well,
perfect intro.
Well, that's okay. I've got a knife. Well, it's a knife and a bottle opener and a corkscrew, but I just need the knife portion because I have tea.
Oh,
this is how we get rid of the blue coat.
And it's Tetley.
Well, this is Tetley's.
Don't tell me you've also got PG tips.
This is PG tips.
Yeah.
I'm so confused right now.
we will teach you proper tea methodology later. But for now, I'm Trending Sparks. I'm a professional voice actor person. I am playing a whisper. Whisper? Yes, I'm sure that it's like wheat.
Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton, yes, exactly. Our resident ghost specialist who doesn't like anything to do with ghosts. So yeah, that's a thing. And he's a courier. I hadn't figured out what his rank is in the courier hierarchy because there's no mention of couriers really in the book. So I don't know.
Actually, there is, but we'll get to that.
Okay, good. Then I guess should we move on to Ari? Jump down to...
Yes, let's go ahead and introduce yourself, MadameGandalf, as Ari.
Hello, I am MadameGandalf as Ari. I don't have any tea today, unfortunately, but I have brought along a bit of a lockpicking kit, so maybe, just maybe, this might come in useful today.
That's all right. I mean, I would say that Moon probably had a lockpicking kit, but no tea. But I can't say for sure that is in any way correlated to what happened to him. But no, that's all. Carry on.
And Sten's fighting words right there. All right, so I will pass it on to Al.
Excellent.
Hello, I'm Joff, otherwise known as Owlbare, otherwise known as Mithy Wench. You may know me from such places as Twitter, and that's about it. I'll be playing the cutter, Sesereth Grines, who is the Phantom's current muscle. Yeah, that's it. Oh, I don't really have any props. I've got some like nail clippers, which is about as vicious as I get.
They won't even let you take those things on a plane.
They are vicious. Yeah.
That's how you know.
I need a pen to twirl.
I need a pen to chew.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. We'll see more of you soon. And I am playing as Sky. I'm Speedy. I run this channel, but I'm playing as Sky, the head of this crew of smugglers, who's a bit of a vicious man who likes making ghost contracts with people without really asking their consent sometimes. Yeah, that's about all I'll go into for now. And let's, at this point, right before I turn things over to our DM, I want to remind everyone of how you guys can interact with this game. So, donations allow you to influence the game in a variety of ways. You can see the list of donation things below the stream, but $1 for advantage essentially, and a $5 for a natural success, a critical success. So keep that in mind as we go forward. Also, there is merch available. I don't have the link set up right now, but if you are interested in having a 6 and 20 t-shirt, they exist on the Unmade Gaming TeePublic store. So absolutely go check those out as well. This is being run in conjunction with the channel Unmade Gaming. It is a collaboration between him, myself, and VideoStoreCowboy, as well as our lovely casts. And so if you want to see the other side of the story, you can go see it on his channel. There have been a lot of interesting revelations and crossovers in that way. So you will certainly see some more of that soon. But now, at this point, I will turn things over to VideoStoreCowboy.
Let's be honest first, though. Ari did fire the first shot. I mean,
she just, it went,
I mean, it was like,
I'm not denying it.
It was beautiful. It was, I mean, it caught me off guard. It caught everybody on that side off guard. It was beautiful. It just went, wow. Like right.
It's what it's what I came for. To put everybody on edge.
And I absolutely love it. Okay, before we get started, I didn't realize it was Bring Your Prop to School Day or some stuff like that, because you all have like props and stuff, and I'm feeling jealous here. But you know what? I'll bring the game. So,
Would you like
so where we last left off. No, I'm not going to start with vitamins. It's okay. I've got a set of lockpicks I can bring, but we're all good.
Okay. You've got a cat. Well, I mean, so does Joff, but whatever. Never mind.
Well, so does Lisa. And by the way, it surprised me last night when she was wearing the 6 and 20 shirt. Caught me completely off guard. I thought that was lovely.
It looks so good. It looks amazing.
It did, Joff.
It
looks amazing. Thank you very much yet again for that logo. That's amazing.
It looks awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We have
Okay, so last time we played, it was 2 weeks ago. We missed last week, and we'll catch up with a catch up episode at some point to get you guys back in line. But where you guys were 2 weeks ago is you guys basically spent the entire episode doing downtime stuff, and so there was a lot of things going on. So I'm not going to go through everything that happened. I'm going to go through the highlights that basically were kind of game changers and kind of made things significant for where you guys are going to be now. And then we'll jump right back into the game, resolving the cliffhanger that we were at 2 weeks ago. But so Sky was wheeling and dealing and having conversations and just kind of inserting himself into, and just kind of making more deals, kind of establishing himself as being larger than, what he's done previously, conversation wise and, reputation and all of that. So he's really put out a lot of effort into establishing larger business relationships for the Phantoms. In contrast to that, we had Sling, who went off and did a couple of really interesting things. One, she engaged Grin, specifically about digging into the circumstances of what's going on in her home city, which is interesting because she was referred to talk to him, given the circumstances that there was a large mercenary army that is being put together in order to quell the violence that's going on. And it's the violence that interested her, given that she knew some of the people that were actively involved. And that's one of her long-term projects that's actually going on right now. She also, being a very sly, introduced some interest in Sky indirectly, because she let it slip that there was somebody who was causing problems for the destitute and for, that was exerting their power. And she let the Lost know that. And now there is some consequence of that's going to happen. But when she did that, when she took that particular action, the result of it was that she also took a devil's bargain. And the devil's bargain was that at some point Sky would find out. And that may come into play tonight. It may not. We'll see. But Sling took a very huge risk there by doing what she did. And then I want to talk a little bit about what Ari did. Now, this, again, and we highlighted it just as you were coming in, this was game changer. She fired the first shot. She basically took one of her downtime actions and shifted the heat from the crew, specifically from the Phantom, and highlighted that in her past she had actually had a connection with one of the members of the Shroud, which is OC, or Orange Crush, and basically shifted the heat and the interest in the two previous jobs, the smuggling job where you took the cargo and you took the cargo and then gave it to the Red Sashes, and then the previous action that you guys took against the Foghounds, she shifted all that blame onto OC, which was a brilliant and daring move and completely unexpected on my part, because I was waiting for, who was going to fire the first shot, and I have to be honest, I never expected it to come from you. That was amazing. So awesome. But so in that circumstance, they actually dealt with a little bit of that last night on their show, and the results of that may come into play tonight. So we'll see what happens. Grin, I believe, just kind of trained and kind of hung out and did his thing. He wasn't really overly active. So, but I just wanted to highlight that, Grin, you did do things last time in downtime.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to come to the end of, talking about some of the stuff that happened. And I want to highlight, again, probably, and while Ari's actions was amazing, this was my favorite part of the last session. And that is Trendane's story about Hocus and Doskvol's hope, and introducing the characters of Jot and Tittle, who are spirits that speak to Hocus. And that story was beautiful. It was brilliant. I hope somebody clipped it because it was amazing. And it helped establish some of the more fantasy elements in the story that we will probably touch on at some point. Because even though this is an industrial city, and there is, there are ghosts and there are demons and that kind of a thing, the distant past, this was a high fantasy world before the Cataclysm. And so there were elements in there that kind of touched on that larger theme, that this used to be a better world. This used to be a better place. But what was interesting about that was, as we moved out of that set of circumstance, there was a second exchange that happened between Sky and Hocus, related to Sky's sister, who is a spirit that exists down in the basement of Donovan's. And the exchange had a huge impact on both of them. For Hocus, it gave him a better understanding of Sky, and it sounded like for Sky, it gave him hope in a way, or how would you describe what it did for Sky? I mean, because you were actually visibly emotional about it a little bit.
Yeah. So it at first it made him very angry, because the idea of something of a way to bring back his sister was something that he hadn't considered in years. Like at the time that she had first died, it was obviously something he was very interested in, and he thought he'd exhausted every option. And so the idea that there was something still to be done was infuriating to him. The idea that all these years that he could have been doing something made him feel incredibly guilty, but at the same time gave him a hope. And he's not happy about having a hope either, because hope is a dangerous thing in this city.
In this entire world, absolutely. Yeah, and it was a beautiful transition from what had happened just prior to that, which was there was a conversation between Sling and Sky, which was incredibly aggressive, because Sky felt that Sling had lied to him about her drugs and where she had gotten her drugs. And so that highlights again Sling's desperation for, maintaining her vice, maintaining her habits, because that's how she deals with her, her day-to-day life. And so there was this intense exchange and frustration. And then to go from that angry stance of Sky to go to this hopeful, almost sad kind of was a beautiful development for all three of the characters in a lot of way. Right. So we saw a lot of that. We saw a lot of those characters, kind of their core personalities there. So, but when all that was said and done, there was a knock at the door as Sky was returning up to the it was Hocus that was returning up the stairs, and Sky was still down convening with his sister, and there was a knock at the door, and Grin, being the physical, essentially the merc, the physical being, the intense one, the one that kind of keeps an eye on things, opened that door and found himself face to face with a couple of Bluecoats, and they immediately, greeted Grin and said, "We're looking for somebody by the name of by the name of Moon."
You said it was one Bluecoat.
Did I say it was one Bluecoat?
You said it was one.
Are you sure that I said it was one Bluecoat?
I watched it earlier today.
Did you really? Okay. What you didn't see off to the side is around the sides. There's a couple more Bluecoats.
Hocus didn't see shit. He's not at the door. So
you're absolutely right.
Okay.
Thank you for reminding me. But so you see a Bluecoat standing at the door, and as he begins to move in after asking you about Moon, you see that there are two more that are moving in behind him. And they step into the room, and they kind of survey the room. And to describe the Bluecoats, they're the muscle of the City Watch. There are essentially a couple of different elements of how the city is managed. The Bluecoats represent the physical muscle. They're the police. They're the bruisers. They're the brute squad, however you want to think about them. They're clad and dressed typically in something that vaguely resembles a uniform, but is not consistent from Bluecoat to Bluecoat. There is always some element of blue in the what they wear. It helps identify them. It's a very particular blue color, but it's the significance that identifies them as a part of the city's brute squad. So when they walk in, they are definitely either ex-dock workers. They've spent a great deal of time probably in bars and dealing with pubs and taverns and dealing with aggressive individuals and breaking up fights and extorting and doing all of the things, because the Bluecoats aren't necessarily a good group of law enforcers. They're always on the take. There's always some way to manipulate the situation to your particular benefit or advantage. And so when these three gentlemen walk in, Grin, you are faced with this first gentleman who just walks in, who looks a little bit shorter than you, but is quite bulky. But you realize that he's also brought two additional individuals who are of your size or bigger, quite muscled, very, very brutish. None of them appearing to brandish weapons, but the coats are definitely long enough that they could have things concealed.
I was going to ask, that's the first thing that Grin would do, is size all three of them up and start gauging his odds.
So your odds, when you look at them as they're kind of walking in and they step in and kind of look around, and you close the door behind them to be able to give yourself an excuse to kind of close the door and then kind of look at them from behind, you definitely realize that the coats are bulky and, loose enough that you could not necessarily just determine whether there are weapons involved. Your experience with the Bluecoats in the past is that most of them carry, either short, any type of a dagger of some kind of blade that is at least long enough to be able to conceal. Some of them carry billy clubs. Occasionally, some will carry more than that. But typically, you're able to easily see those. If it's like a sword or whatever, or if they're carrying a pistol, it's usually one at their side.
I was going to say, do the Bluecoats favor blades over guns?
Most people favor blades over guns because of the expense of having, ammunition, created. Sling has a rifle, but that's a costly thing for her to actually use. So you saw her use it, very sparingly in the first session when you guys went against the Foghounds. So as you're kind of sizing these guys up, they just kind of move into the center of the. I guess what is the entrance, or what does Donovan's basically look like as a storefront, Speedy?
So because it's more of a wholesaler, it's a place that generally deals in large quantities of things. It's generally assumed that most of the actual stock will be out back, and if any time anyone wants something, they would have to ask someone to go get it for them. Say you want 30 barrels of mushrooms or whatever. All right, I'll go send the muscle back to get it. So as far as the entrance goes, there's basically like several barrels lining along the sides, and then a counter kind of at the front.
Okay. And is there any other, like any of the other affectations of a business, like is there a ledger book there? You have like, are the pens and, pencils and parchment and that kind of a thing for receipts and stuff? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So they come in and they start to kind of assess the situation and kind of lift, some of the lids on the barrels up. Where are Hocus and Ari in this situation?
Harky.
Shipping it now. We're shipping it now. Harky.
That's gonna be a weird combination. Hocus is probably halfway between the stairwell that leads down into the basement and the front door.
Okay. So that's, but I mean, are you immediately caught off guard by what's going on? I mean, I'm just trying to get a disposition for when you hear the knock at the door, what would you be doing? I mean, would you be continuing to move forward or?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Where's Ari?
Coach started walking in and then it would be kind of, and then his demeanor would shift more towards getting back into his professional, his mode of standing and the way that he usually behaves when he's, being a courier.
Okay. What about Ari?
I imagine Ari is kind of sitting on one of the items that we're trying to sell somewhere, like some stock, just filing her nails, filing her nails, nailing my files.
It's a strange. File's an odd name.
That's our organization system. We just tap into the wall. We don't have filing cabinets.
God damn it. Filing her nails, just looking generally disinterested in this whole like everyday atmosphere.
So mundane is definitely boring to her. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So the three of them walk in and they take in the situation. Grin, you're standing at the door from behind. I imagine that you're kind of holding that position until you get a better sense of what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Hocus, as you're coming in that direction, you're just walking past Ari, and you step up and you kind of hold as you realize the three individuals that just walked in. You heard the name Moon because it was said loud enough for it to be broadcast into the room by the person as you were coming through. But as you see them walking in, that kind of holds you up, and your disposition changes. Sky, from upstairs, you hear the door open because it's a very obvious kind of a thing that you could listen for. It's very quiet downstairs, other than your sister's voice, and so you hear that, and then you hear the clumps of three heavy-set individuals stepping into the room, making stomping noises essentially as they come in. Grin, you close the door. The first one that kind of came in and looks at you, the shorter of the three, looks around and turns back to you and says, "So, we're looking for Moon. Would Moon happen to be here? We understand that he works for the individual who runs this particular shop."
You'll have to forgive me. I'm new here. Moon. That doesn't ring a bell. Let me get the boss.
Okay.
And I call out, Jericho.
I will hastily come up the stairs, quickly shut the door behind me and lock it. The door is not visible from the front. It's kind of in a back room already, so they can't quite see where I'm coming from. But I'll approach the front and arms wide say, "Oh, good to see you, officers. Is there anything I can help you with?"
Yeah, actually, taking a jovial kind of attitude, very relaxed. You're being watched, by the way, Grin. So
I don't do that. That's me. That's not Grin.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure that you know that they're taking in the room, but they're definitely keeping a watchful eye. They're being more cautious.
I'm relaxed. I'm not tense. I'm not prepared to jump. I'm super relaxed.
Ari is definitely looking at them kind of mockingly. This super like, oh, really? Oh, okay.
So the shorter of the three, responds to you and says, "Well, we're kind of looking for somebody by the name of Moon. We understand that he used to work here at Donovan's, or that he does still work here. We've been tracking him down, actually, because we're actually looking for an associate of his. So we'd like to talk to this particular Moon person. Would you happen to have any idea where he might be? Did he work for you?"
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know anyone by the name of Moon. It's an odd name for sure.
Really? That's quite interesting. And he says, "Are you sure?" And he begins to describe Moon almost to a T.
Oh, that sounds... Do you mean Cavell?
Well, that might be his given name, but there's this lovely individual that we spoke to in Ironhook who described him as Moon. Quite a simple fellow. Spoke in simple terms. Was really kind of interesting. I think he referred to himself as Muscles.
Strange. No, yeah, that does sound like Cavell, but I'm afraid I've never heard him referred to as Moon. Why? Has he gotten himself in some kind of trouble? Haven't seen him in a few weeks now.
No, and he kind of looks around and says, "Well, we're really not interested in Moon. He's just we're actually trying to find somebody that he supposedly worked for. We were told we could find this particular person, or if not him, Moon, at this shop here. Again, simple fellow, didn't have much to say, and was happy to share some details without going into too much.
What was he?
Didn't really know much.
Can I ask why? Is it just, are you just here on the request of this simple man?
No, we've got business with this particular individual, and we were told that Moon could point us in the right direction. We've got a particular need for something, and it's, as I'm being delicate, since it's my job to do the talking for my squad of Bluecoats, and he kind of preens himself a little bit and kind of shakes his coat, helping you recognize yes, this is a Bluecoat. Kind of sending the message that you're not being forced to do anything just yet.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of telegraphing that they would rather not fight. But he says, "Well, all right, I'm just going to come out and say it. We're looking for an individual by the name of Sky. We understand that Moon works for Sky, that this young gentleman, Muscles, also worked for Sky. And really, we're here for some information. We understand how it works, how business works in Doskvol. And while typically we don't interfere when we're compensated appropriately," and he kind of jingles his purse a little bit. He says, "In this particular case, we have a request. We actually have a job for him, but we'd really like to talk to this particular person, Sky, because I find it interesting that Muscles talk so highly of him and his ability to find out things."
Seems to me like you found a very simple person. Looks like he's looked at things that were around him and simply said those were the names: Moon, Muscles, Sky. I could do that in this room alone.
He sighs, looks at you and says, "I would typically agree with you. I didn't actually do the interview. I was referred to this. I was given this piece of parchment." And he rolls out a piece of parchment that has a list of names and some notes on it. And obviously see in big letters, highlighted and underlined Moon and Sky and Muscles, all of these names. And he says, "But I'm given to believe, and I trust the person that referred me to this, that this simple man is too simple to be that imaginative. So, if I could leave a calling card and, you could come call on us at some point if you have any more information. And it might be worth your time. Plenty of coin.
Well, I assure you, I still don't know quite what you're talking about, but if there is anything else, then I assure you, I will let you know.
I was going to take the business card and do the whole like.
Thank you, dear.
Very nice. So, okay. Well, you folks have a lovely evening, and we'll we hope to talk to you soon. And as you watch them begin to move towards Grin, to step towards the door, the shorter one, again, is kind of taking in the situation, kind of looking around and just, kind of observing everything that's going on. And Grin moves out of the way. They open the door and step out. And kind of looks at all of you and says, well, we'll be seeing you. And closes the door behind them. Now, Grin, as you're... Oh, go ahead.
They close the door behind them?
Yes.
I wait a couple beats, I open it, and I just take a step outside. I just want to see if they're walking off and if anyone else is peeling away and joining them.
I can help with that as well.
Okay.
As they are making, they basically said goodnight and moved towards the door. Hocus basically say, well, now that business is concluded, I can conclude mine. And he holds out an envelope to Jericho.
Mm-hmm. Why, thank you.
Very welcome. Do you have any return missives?
Come back again tomorrow, and I'll have something for you. Need to read this over first.
Yes, sir. Very well. And Hocus will follow out directly behind them, the Bluecoats, which is when Brynn can come along out with them.
Yeah.
So I'll resolve what Grin sees first, and then I'm going to resolve what Hocus sees after that, since he's walking out with them. So Grin, the three move out, and they say, be seeing you. The door closes. A couple beats, would obviously the exchange happens between, as the door is closing, the exchange happens between Hocus. You hold the door open and allow Hocus to go out. You close the door. You wait, say a 5 count or whatever, and you open the door again. And you kind of look out, and you realize that one of the Bluecoats has been stationed right across the way, and essentially just at the mouth of an alley. One of the two big ones, essentially. One of the two bigger ones is just kind of smoking a pipe, or starting to pack and put together a pipe and starting to smoke it against the cold of the night. But he's clearly, keeping an eye on the door.
He sees
Hocus.
me?
Oh, yes, he sees you.
All right, I just little 2-finger salute at him. Make sure that Hocus is on his way and close the door.
So, he's kind of packing his pipe. He's, looking for something to light. He realizes that you're looking. He just kind of nods as you acknowledge him, and just continues to pack his pipe as he begins to light it. Hocus, you see almost immediately as you're kind of walking out, there's a quick exchange of words, and then one of them breaks off and comes and stands right at the mouth of an alleyway. The two others begin to head in a general direction that leads them towards 6 Towers. But otherwise, they are not acting aggressively. They don't appear to be. There appears to be no ill intent. They don't meet up with anybody else as far as you follow them to the footbridge that leads between 6 Towers and Night Market. And at that point, you can either continue to follow them, or you'll lose them.
Charter Hall.
Okay, so you move back to Charter Hall. What was the letter that you handed Speedy, or sorry, Sky, was it any significant, or was it just something that you have prepared?
It was a dummy letter that we had prepared from a previous customer of Mr. Schuyler's, saying thank you for the prompt delivery of the items which we requested. You know, your delivery persons were polite and respectful, and we will call upon you again when we need more, blah, whatever.
Mushrooms.
Eels. Right, mushrooms.
The normal kind of mushrooms.
Oh, well, whatever.
Okay, so with that, what happens next? I mean,
with Hocus?
For any of you, I mean, because you guys have just had a visit from the Bluecoats. There's been a couple of other things that have been, moving in the background for you guys as well, or that you set up. So what's next?
The first thing Grin's going to say once the door is closed is, turning to Sky, is if they're watching the front, they're watching the back. If you leave out the front. Business as usual. Business as normal.
Gotta agree. Can you believe them trying to offer us a job? Like, that's not a trap.
They've been getting ballsier in the following years. I remember when they used to quiver in their boots.
Yeah, that was a much better time. But regardless, this is a problem. We can't continue operating our normal business with this man outside.
We could always try and lead him away.
Suppose so, but we lead away just one of them. It's only a matter of time before he comes back or they send another.
True. Though, Here you go. There is this, if you so want it.
Perhaps. I take a look at the card. What does it say?
It's the calling card for the squad's chief for the Bluecoats in 6 Towers.
Okay.
So per etiquette and behavior, anybody of any type of rank beyond just a worker of some kind, or a blue collar individual, somebody who has any rank of any time will have a calling card, and typically it's either just their name or their name and an address where they can be contacted at, kind of a thing. It would be something that you could hand off to Hocus as a part, address the information on there so that it would, take that information and basically address it using a courier to send a message to that particular person.
Right. And it's not is it a name that I recognize, know anything about?
No, it's not a name you recognize or know anything at all about unless you've had any experience with Bluecoats in 6 Towers. Each district will have what's almost like an autonomous group or squad essentially of Bluecoats, and probably have 1 or 2 inspectors assigned to that particular district. But there's not a lot of cross interaction. So it's interesting that they came all the way to Night Market to actually talk to you.
Pretty sure I've seen the short one before. But then there's a lot of short Bluecoats that like to peruse the brothels.
That's true. That's certainly something to consider. I mean, if we do keep this one man around, it's easy enough to persuade him to turn the other way. At least usually. But here we need a more permanent solution. Get them stop bothering us.
Yeah, I'm curious what they have on you. Because if they're leaving a man to watch the shop, they have something. They have more than a suspicion.
Yeah. Apparently I didn't tie off those loose ends quite well enough.
I've just had a slight realization. One of Ari's special abilities is like looking into a mirror. I can tell when people are lying.
That's correct.
Oh,
So do I know possibly if the Bluecoats were lying when they said that they wanted a job for Sky, as opposed to inquiring further?
I'm so glad you used this. No, they were not bullshitting. They were sincere in what they were doing. So the way that I look at that, and I think that this fits, both you and OC have this ability because you're both slides and you both chose this. I think this is phenomenal. What it allows you to do is, even as your experience, as courtesans and doing all of that, there would be a certain level of exposure that you would have to body language and be able to read people in a very, very significant way. What that ability does is takes it on and puts it on steroids. It enhances it such that you almost can look into somebody's soul and get an almost empathetic feeling of whether they're bullshitting you or not, or whether they're telling you the truth, or whether they believe it's the truth. That kind of a circumstance. In this case, this person completely felt that they were telling you the truth.
I would like to relay this back to everyone.
Damn it.
As much as I don't trust a blue coat next to the next one, I do feel that his offer was legitimate. I think he just genuinely wanted some Sky information.
there's a guy right across the street watching the door. Shall I go invite him in for some tea? Oh, that's right.
Wow, you were really bitter about that tea.
Sky chuckles at that.
If let's give him a drink. It's pretty chilly this evening. Why don't we give him a drink to warm him up and
No.
have a conversation? No. He can always bring his guy back.
No. There are too many people already who seem to know about this place. I'd rather not invite someone in and all but admit it.
They already know. They know. And if the offer was genuine, maybe we can have it. Maybe that's an ally in the Bluecoats.
You make a good point, and I'm tempted to go along with them and at least learn more about this job and what it might have to offer. But still...
Why don't we send our lovely lady friend out to make his acquaintance?
Perhaps that might be a better option.
She's a lot better looking than either of us.
Oh, I wouldn't say that necessarily.
Yeah, have you seen Sky? Jeez.
Yes, Hocus has definitely seen Sky.
Ladies, well, I'm certainly open to you going and paying them a visit. Of course, they've seen you around here too, so it's still quite. It's a bit of a show, but I'm open to it. I'd like to participate as well, if I may, though. Well, certainly don't need to be asking permission, but I have ways of
you should
concealing my appearance.
Go for it. Though you should always ask permission. I do agree with that one. I don't ever go where I'm not invited. But I get invited a lot. So let's go. I'm down.
All right then. This guy's like just slightly uncomfortable at this.
Okay, so if I'm understanding this, you guys are going to make an effort to visit the Six Towers HQ and call on this particular chief of the squad chief.
Oh God, no! We're not going into the Six Towers. No. We're not going to their precinct. We're gonna meet in a neutral location.
Okay.
If only we knew a courier.
Ghosts can be mighty useful sometimes.
Still, I don't know if I want to use him as the courier because they just saw him at our place. I don't want them thinking he works for us still.
Then let's ask Hocus for someone he trusts, and we'll just send some kid in and just make, arrange an exchange, arrange a meetup.
Mm-hmm.
Very good, very good.
And you guys aren't going in alone. I'm gonna be there, and I'm gonna be armed.
Well, so what's a neutral location for you that you're thinking of?
Be nice if we can get back to the night market. Maybe go to one of the inns or taverns around here.
Taverns. I'm always down for a beer.
Tavern
I do like the Devil's Tooth. I do have a room there.
Now, I don't want you getting too distracted now. It seems like a dangerous proposition having our guard be so surrounded by his own vices.
That actually reminds me, the last bottle you gave me is dry. I'd like a top-up.
Someone just got called out.
Just saying. Room and board, including alcohol.
I did promise that, and
Yes,
I will give it to you.
That's a good deal. I'm proud of you, Brynn.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna drink. I'm gonna drink his entire surplus.
Okay, so what's going on here? How are you guys pulling this? I mean, so where are you going? And you're clearly going to ask Hocus to have somebody deliver this for you. So you're going to give something to Hocus to pass on. Where are you guys meeting? How are you going to set up for this particular meeting? This is still free play. I don't think this really qualifies as a social engagement or a score because you're asking for more information. So it's basically like research or investigation.
I do have a friend who's a tavern owner in the form of Clyra. We could go to their tavern because then at least we know we're in good company.
Where is this?
I agree with that.
That's a good question.
I'm actually looking it up right now. See if I can find it. Claire is a tavern owner, but isn't otherwise mentioned. So, okay, this is one of those opportunities where we get to create something really interesting. Where is Clyra located, Ari?
For me, Clyra probably isn't located too far away from the brothel that I grew up in.
Okay.
Hence why we got along well. I've been a regular there since before I can remember. And yeah, I think it's probably within the areas where the common folk more often than not would go rather than the hoity-toity.
The hoity-toity. Okay. So that to me, and see if this fits in with everybody else's vision of what she just described, that to me sounds like it actually probably falls somewhere into Char Hollow or Coleridge or even Barrowcleft. So each of those are more kind of a working class neighborhoods. Char Hollow is sort of like the quintessential working class neighborhood where most of the blue collar workers, clerical workers, very low white collar kind of all reside in what's essentially, large structures that are kind of closely packed together, very much the very, the vision of like what New York used to look like in the late 1800s or the early 1900s. Coleridge is a little bit more of industrial side of that. There's factories there. There's processing plants for things like Leviathan blood and that kind of a thing. But there are like tenements that are really closely packed together where people also stay who have the opportunity to live in that area and probably can't afford to get out of that area. Barrowcleft is more of like if there's a farming community or more of a rural kind of a thing, Barrowcleft is that. There's also quite a wonderful open air market in Barrowcleft that basically is where you would go if you were looking for the equivalent of like a farmer's market kind of a thing.
I'm almost feeling the first or the last one.
Okay.
Personally, what is everybody else maybe feeling?
I think the first one probably sounds better.
So Char Hollow.
Yeah.
Okay. Trendane, Joff, you got any insight on this?
No, I'm agreeing with the first option.
Okay.
Not there, so I don't care.
Okay, so the brothel and the tavern with which Clara works is in Char Hollow. What's the name of her establishment, Ari?
I'm gonna be totally vain here. We're gonna call it the Green Dragon.
I knew it. I knew it.
All right. All right, fair enough. Absolutely. So you're going to make arrangements to meet this particular individual quite far off from both of your locations, your home stumbling grounds, not even your turf, but your base of operations, essentially halfway across of Doskvol. Is there anything special, any special instructions you want to include in this, and how you want to approach this?
When it comes to the crew coming with me, don't stare at anyone for too long. Drink more than you're used to, and leave a good tip. For goodness sake. Oh, and if everybody starts dancing, dance. It's just polite.
Okay.
Now, Ari, when we go into this place, I want to be clear here. I'm not going to be looking like my usual self. And
we have a bunch of colorful people there. I'm sure you'll fit in no matter what you look like.
that's not quite my point. I just want to make it clear. The person who I will be playing on this evening is not meant to be in any way associated with Donovan Supply Co. It's not in any way meant to be associated with Jericho. It is not meant to be associated in any way with any of us. It's just someone that you happen to know. You overheard them mentioning talk of Sky and sent word to someone else. Understand?
Are you sure you want to be someone that I happen to know?
Quite.
Intimately.
You have me intrigued. I'm down to play this game.
Excellent. So the letter
Brynn,
will be sent.
Smile a little bit, otherwise everyone's going to notice you.
This is where I will remind people that he cannot smile because of the scar running down his face. It kind of looks like a sneer, and that's partially how he ended up with the nickname, as well as the fact that his surname is Grines.
And that's why Ari's comment is particularly cruel at this moment. Now, show me your best smile, Grin.
And I heard you mention to drink more than I'm used to.
Good luck with that.
Do not do that.
Mostly match the person you're drinking with, at least.
Oh, that I can do.
Does have quite the tolerance, it seems.
All right,
And
so you were.
Hocus
I'm sorry, go
is-
ahead.
Sorry, and what is Hocus's role? He's going to let them know, right? To join us there?
Hocus will be back in the morning, like he was instructed to do.
Yeah.
because He hasn't heard any of this.
Right. We'll delay a day so we can actually have you as part of this conversation.
So,
Yeah, let's
Okay.
assume
So
it's,
you
let's
are-
assume
you are
it's
now
the
here.
day after.
Yeah.
Let's assume it's the day after Hocus when you're checking in.
right.
Yeah, I mean, I would also assume that this conversation was going to happen ongoing until Hocus returned
Yeah.
anyway. So
Yeah.
that the part of the planning that's going on, the exchanges between Ari and Sky and Grin are definitely all about just carrying into the next day kind of a thing. So Hocus, you basically arrive into this conversation and come into the middle of it. So
Perfect timing, Hocus. I have a possible job for you should the need arise.
Oh.
If things start to get a little bit too hairy, I want you to be able to deliver us some sort of emergency message to get us out of there, like the shop is on fire or some sort of rigmarole.
Well, nothing about the shop, but I do like your thought there. I was just about to say the same.
Is that like being on a bad date and you pretend to take a phone call? So that
Yeah.
Oh, exactly. It's like, oh no,
My
I have to
grandmom's
go
had a
to
heart
hospital.
attack.
There's been flooding in my apartment. I have to go.
I forgot to turn the oven off.
That was my oven. The gas is still on. I have to go.
It's one of those really smart ovens. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
The oven somehow knew where I was and sent a courier to find me.
Very smart ovens. Ghost ovens, actually.
Right. Yeah.
But yes, we want you to have you can write, right? I mean, your hand doesn't fall through the paper as a ghosty thing, does it?
No.
Good. So you can write lovely little fake message, little.
That's not the problem. The problem is, why would I be delivering it to this place?
Yeah.
How would I know that this was the place to deliver it?
I tell you what, you can deliver it to Clyra, and Clyra will let us know.
And how am I to know when, as the young people in Doskvol these days say, shit goes sideways?
That's
he has
true.
a
We
good
do
point.
need
That is a really good point. Yeah.
If I drop my napkin down on the ground and I bend over to pick it up, that's your signal.
But
So there's a courier just standing around.
No. Perhaps Grin, you can be at the bar. You can be watching for this signal, and if you see it, then you go tell him. Or you go provide him with another yet obscure signal.
Tug on the ear.
Just walk outside and smile.
That'll never work.
If I get the signal, I'm going to go outside and light a cigarette. And that's the only reason I will go outside. So, Hocus, if you're across the way and you see me step out and you see me light a cigarette, it's time to deliver that message.
Very well.
And you somehow knew we were there. You've been running all around the city looking for us.
If I'm delivering it to Clara, then that is.
You're delivering it to Clyra. Okay, that's right.
Well, I mean, if we want it to be interrupting our conversation, it has to be a message for us still. Would it not?
I'm sure Clyra would. See, this is now where it turns into a signal for a signal for a signal.
and then an hour later, we're interrupted.
Oh God, we need help. Tugs on the earlobe.
How about if I see the signal, I'll start a bar fight.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
I'm no stranger to that. I can throw my weight around, and that'll sure clear the place fast.
There is...
Although, getting into a bar fight in the presence of Bluecoats, they'll keep me for a night or two. But
hopefully we'll have them distracted enough that they won't even pay attention to you. They'll just leave with us.
There is another possibility. Sky, what is your favorite bird?
Yes, Sky, what is your favorite bird?
Please say emu.
Ostrich.
Well,
Kiwi.
Oh, the kiwi.
Call me vain if you must, but it'll be the skylark.
All right. They're not just human spirits wandering around. There are spirits of animals as well. Another possibility is I could send you a messenger.
Ooh.
Well, again, I see a problem in that we need an excuse to get out of there.
I think I could think of an excuse of some sort. Oh, the wine has hit me too hard. Oh, no. I have to leave with my friend right now, for I just can't control myself any further. It can all be arranged.
No, actually, that does bring up, you know, when you were putting away the card from the Bluecoat, you tucked it away. And you,
In areas.
yes, Sky, your response was, "Thank you, dear." What if she's beginning to get a little bit tipsy, a little bit loose, and you get a little bit jealous?
He's not wrong.
But I suppose I'm not intended to go there as myself, though.
I don't care. Perhaps you're the John for the evening. The point being, if you show up on her arm, someone that you used to know, and she begins paying more attention to them than she does to you, who came here with her this evening. Reason of
Oh, does little Sky feel a little jealous? And she
It's
starts
not
like
going to be
twirling his little mustache.
It's as good an excuse as any, I suppose.
Then we have a plan.
Don't get too handsy now.
Yes, only use your feet. Oh, Joff, that expression was fantastic.
I didn't sign up for this.
It's still, no matter what we do, it can't compete with what happened yesterday.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that you're sending off a message to meet with this particular person, and at Clara's inside of the Green Dragon, inside of Tower Hollow, and I'm assuming that Hocus is going to hand this off to another courier and then make his way there during the meeting time.
Yes.
He doesn't have to come and rescue them if that's going to be their out.
Okay.
He gets to.
Yeah.
All I have to get the message to somebody who can get it to them.
Okay.
To the other.
So if there's nothing else, I guess we'll just cut to the moment where you guys are entering the Green Dragon. Yes.
Sure.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
immediately upon entrance, Ari is acting a little bit.
Can I just before
Go
you
for it.
guys head off? Sky, there is one other thing, which I think you need to know. Possibly two other things. Part of our agreement was that I would pass on any information that I had along the lines of my work, but not as a direct result of it. So this particular piece of information should fall to you. The couriers, my group, has they've been moving rather aggressively from estate of noble family to estate. Or Doskvol, and there's been a great many messages being delivered back and forth. And it should also be noted that the Bluecoats, this may be some information you might want to take with you as a cherry pip to keep hidden in your hat for some point. They are actively seeking, discovered this morning while picking up my messages, actively seeking information regarding a break-in that happened at their headquarters in Six Towers. So, tuck that away. Keep that up your sleeve and use it if you need.
Interesting. Keep that in mind. Thank you. You've done a good job.
I often do. Good fortune to you all. And out he goes.
So
we
I
get
just
to-
want to
Oh, go ahead.
double check confirm that we're going there to find out the information on what he has on Sky and Moon.
Less about that and more about their job offer.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
more
yeah.
about the job offer.
Yeah, because
Started.
as I'm intending to play this other character who is actually Sky. I'm more concerned with new work rather than rehashing the old. Although, actually, I suppose I would probably be concerned with tying up the loose end of muscles at this point.
All right. But mostly finding out more about
Whatever do you mean, Sky?
So many loose ends.
Goddamn
where
idiot.
that could be.
Okay, so everybody's good to go. We're gonna cut to the Green Dragon as you were entering the Green Dragon. Now, Ari, describe to us what the Green Dragon looks like. Like, what does it look like from the exterior, and what does it look like on the inside?
On the exterior, it's kind of got that rusty look about it, like it's been around for too long without a good cleaning. But as soon as you walk inside, there's a lot of warmth. Everybody's talking. There's a lot of warm banter. There's a few people who are having arm wrestling matches in the corner. There's somebody who's punching somebody else in the face in the other corner. There's a man who's sobbing in another corner while a friend consoles him. There's a little bit of everybody, of the normal working folk, just really having this comforting place that they can be in, along with Clyra, who is just not taking crap from anybody, but is still very warm and welcoming to people that come in. You know, what can I get you today? Our best thing on the menu is the stew. That I feel like I'm at home when I walk into this kind of place.
Okay, and so when Clara sees you, is it like a warm greeting? What is the relationship like? Is it sisterly? Is it motherly? Is it old
It's
friends?
like an older sister.
Okay.
There's a protective element, but still with the banter of she's going to do what she's going to do.
Okay. Are you recognized when you walk in?
Yes.
Okay. So describe. I'm allowing you to kind of build this so that we can get a feel for the environment. You know, the neutral environment that you're kind of setting yourself up into. So when you walk in, right, there's you see Clara doing her most and kind of waves to you, and you get the acknowledgement that, you know, you always get, you know, of feeling at home, and that she'll see you as soon as she gets an opportunity to, as she's kind of working the room and kind of helping different people. And are there more than just Clara working there? Does she have, you know, essentially women and men that work for her to do various bits of a tavern's operation?
Yeah, she does. She has a couple of men and women helping her, mostly other women.
Okay.
She has one kind of scrawny fellow who definitely seems like he's been taken under her wing as one of her helpers, and he's mostly doing all of the like legwork of picking up all of the dirty items, and he's like the dishwasher essentially, picking up all of the dirty items around the tavern, trying to keep it clean as this place can really be, what with sailors coming in and the likes. So he's running around like a madman. The other wenches they're entertaining the customers as well as serving the food and the beers and whatnot. And Clara is very definitely the madame of the place. She is laying down the law when it needs to be laid down. So if a fight gets a bit too boisterous in the corner, she's the first one to tell them if they break anything, they have to get out, and that she won't have any of that nonsense here. And as soon as Ari walks in, Ari kind of decides to make a bit of a spectacle of herself, as she always likes to do in places where she knows she's welcome. So she walks in immediately holds up a jug that she always has and just like screams, "Does anyone remember laughter?" And to sounds of rejoicing, like cheers and "Hey!" around the whole tavern as she saunters forward to Clyra and tops up her drink.
Yeah, Sky walks in pretty much with her, almost directly behind. And like the second she does that, he just like dips his head down. Like, God damn it. But he actually looks a good deal different than he normally does. He's put on a good deal of makeup, so his skin looks a touch lighter. It's not enough that he looks, actually like white, but his normally dark skin is turned to a more pale brown. And along with that, he has a more pronounced facial hair, and a hat that he doesn't normally wear.
What kind
It's
of
a
a
perfect
hat?
disguise.
What kind of a hat? What kind of a hat are you wearing? Because I'm wondering when Ari walks into the room and spreads her arm and says, does anybody remember laughter? Is it the kind of hat where the brim is so big that it gets bumped off of your head?
Like a arrow.
No, I mean he's looking you to use a hat as a disguise, right? So he probably wants something that offers a little bit of protection. Yeah. He can angle his head in such a way that he can put his face in the shadows if he needs to, right? It's not like a pork pie.
Yeah, no, I mean it's probably more of a fedora.
Okay.
And I don't think it would quite knock it off. I think he's probably before she even does anything, just like just like holding his hat down.
Okay. All right, and so the two of you walk into the room. Clyra, greets Ari. There's an exchange. There's a bit of affection that happens. You see the room kind of warm up a little bit because Ari's so familiar here that and everybody loves Clyra and the relationship and everything else, and so there's a lot of frivolity and a little bit of joy, and there's an elevation that happens a little bit in the room as everybody gets a little bit more excited and everybody's a little bit happier because of the circumstance. Sky, you're kind of walking up behind her and just kind of taking it in as this all, and these are things that you notice. It's common for Aries, but this is things that you notice as she walks into the room. Mm-hmm. So, Grin, how are you inserting yourself into this room, given that I guess you're supposed to be separate from them?
Yeah. So probably 10, 15 minutes after they've made their very boisterous entrance, Grin would just slip in and either find a stool at the bar or place himself in such a way that he will have eyes on the two of them. And he'll go about enjoying himself, having a tipple.
Okay. So you make the entrance and in the room. I assume that Ari would lead Sky is immediately to a table that's very familiar to her, where she's able to keep, kind of all eyes on the room and at the same time kind of be able to stay connected and have conversations and do bits. Excuse me. Does that make Sky uncomfortable that Ari is so familiar and so relaxed in this setting?
A little bit. He's trying to keep his head down at first, but seeing the kind of atmosphere of the bar, he realizes that would only make him stand out more. So he does kind of start to lighten up a bit and just kind of try to relax. Not quite being loud, but opening himself up at least, not digging his hat down anymore.
Well done, Ari.
I feel like at this point, Ari's one of those people who would just like sit in the lap and like start twirling the mustache and be like, "Oh."
So at about the you all have entered and you've come early, and Ari is of course catching up with Clyra and other patrons of the Green Dragon. Sky is beginning to relax himself a little bit. He's also had at least one full, glass of whatever his preferred drink is. Grin is, of course, immediately starting in and doing
I'm on the second bottle. I've moved on.
Well, but you're Grin. You are an experienced, killer. You're an experienced soldier. You're an experienced drinker. So you are definitely, in your environment and comfortable and able to carry on a bit of a conversation with those around you as you're able to still keep an eye on the room. You do stand out a bit as a Scovelander, especially since, Callan's is usually the preferred place in Char Hollow for Scovelans. But, you were accepted without too much incident. And of course, Clyra wanders around, and you see that from the interaction that she and Ari have had, that this is the person that owns the tavern, and she has a bit of an interaction with you, and
I like her,
kind of sizing you up. But so as you guys, as you are enjoying yourself, the time moves on, and the appropriate time kind of arrives, and in walks a single blue coat. The coat is a little bit more of and I'll start with the description of the coat, because this is the distinction of going inside out on this character or on this NPC. The coat is very ornate. It's much more well maintained. It looks more like a uniform of some kind. It carries with it a level of status to it, indicating that this person is of rank in the blue coats. And it's still a little bit shabby. It's still a little bit worn. It's seen better days. But it is incredibly well worn and loved, and fits the individual that's walking into the room perfectly. And this is a little bit of a shorter gentleman than the three previous ones that you've run into in the past when they encountered you at Donovan's. He's a little less bulkier, and he's a little older. Clearly, he had some bulk and was more of a bruiser in his younger days, but has sort of enjoyed the more subtle life of being in command, and the easier life of being in command, and not being so physical on a day-to-day basis. But when he walks in, he commands the room. Ari, can you tell me what would happen in the Green Dragon, specifically with how would Clara react, but how would the rest of the crowd react when a blue coat walked in the door?
I would imagine that everybody would kind of get a little bit quiet initially upon his entrance. I mean, there's a place where they're normally allowed to kind of be themselves, and suddenly in walks this definitely much fancier than we're used to type. And is he clearly a blue coat?
Oh, absolutely.
Then especially because of that, everybody kind of gets a little bit quieter at first. That is until Ari approaches him. As soon as Ari approaches him, everybody kind of goes back to their okay, back to usual. Okay. Must be fine.
So as you step up and you begin to move closer to him, you gain a lot more insight and detail into him. Again, being who you are, and being in the type of work that you've been in, and how much you understand people's body language, and how what you can read from a person from their physicality, you see more definition come into his face. This is probably a gentleman in his 40s. He has definitely seen some fights. He's not built like a soldier. He doesn't look like he's got the wounds of a soldier, more of the wounds of dealing with ruffians of the city. He's got many not small slices of scarred tissue, things that are kind of left over on his face. You see on his hands, they're quite enlarged and gnarled, almost arthritic in some cases. You can see that there's a little bit of a shake in his right hand. The way he walks, there's a slight limp, and it's clear that he's favoring his left shoulder as he walks. And this is all indicative of somebody who has spent a long time fighting bar fights, and splitting apart ruffians, and kind of wrangling people at various in various circumstances where he would be required to be incredibly physical. He is obviously not carrying any weapons. In fact, the coat is cut in such a way that he is not it's clear that if he was concealing something, you would be able to see it. And so he kind of just, stumbles in and just begins to move in towards the bar as you approach him. What do you say to him?
Seems like you could use a drink. And I grab his hand and lead him straight up towards the bar, leaning as far over the bar as possible while I just grab something from behind it, probably an ale of some sort, and bring it back round and just...
He's taken aback at first. Which hand do you grab? Do you grab his right or his left hand?
His left.
Okay. And when you pull him, how aggressive are you in pulling him?
Not too aggressive. Just pushy without being painful, though.
So as you grab him and begin to lead him towards the bar, you hear a little bit of a wince as you grab his left hand and kind of pull his arm, and his shoulder just kind of twitches a little bit. And he's like, and immediately after the grunt, you hear, "Easy, lass, easy." And as you pull him forward, he speaks with sort of a quiet, sort of a tone. Clearly, he's a soft-spoken, and carries a big stick kind of a person. As you get that impression from him, and as you hand him over the stein of ale or whatever, he takes a hearty drink and says, "That's a good lass. Who are you?"
I'm Ari. Who are you?
My name is Brynn, lass. Thank you. I'm here to... And he looks around and he looks at the note and he sees the description on the note. I'm assuming you give him a description of you.
Yeah.
As the person to meet. He says, "It looks like you're the lass I'm here to meet. Is your name Ari?"
It could be whatever you want me to be, but tonight it's Ari.
I'm a little old, and I'm a little worn for the wear. I don't think but thank you for the kindness, lass. But I think we should get to our business.
Business it is then. And she ushers him towards the table that her and Sky are sat at.
Okay, so in the notes that you sent through the couriers, what did you say to prompt him to meet you in Char Hollow?
I basically told them exactly what they were wanting to hear. I have information about Sky and how to find him, and at least how to contact him in order to get the job done that they require.
As you take him back to the table, he, again, you're pulling him with his left hand. He's able to keep up, but it's a little bit of a struggle. And you get a pang of sympathy because he's clearly in a lot of pain. This man has far past his time of being an actual physical being. He's clearly dealt with so many injuries and broken bones that his body is in, at various stages of arthritis. But you bring him back, and he sort of eases into a chair very slowly as he kind of uses the weight on one arm and his right arm as he kind of eases back into the chair and sets his glass down, or his goblet or whatever down with the second, his left hand. And he says, "So, I see you said you have some information for me. Bit of a long journey here, but I hope it's worth it."
So do I. I guess what I'm wondering is, what kind of a job are you looking for? Because I might just be able to help you get it to him. I happen to know a few skies, and some of them are blue, some of them are gray. I might just be able to lead you to the right one.
Kind of picks up his glass or his cup for a second, takes another drink, and says, "We've indulged this charade for a while. I would prefer to have a conversation directly with Sky.
Skies are as clear or as cloudy as you want them to be. Trust me, you're not going to find him in a place like this. But
He sits back and takes another drink as you say, but
I can help you. A little bit of, if you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
puts the cup back down, kind of turns it a little bit, looking at it, looking at you, looking at the other individual sitting at the table who hasn't introduced himself yet.
Actually, I'm going to notice that he's looked at him like, oh, let me introduce you to my friend. What's your name again? Sorry, they change so regularly.
Now, see, this poses a problem because I was planning on introducing myself as Sky.
Okay.
I mean, you could do for the shock.
No. The name's Malcolm. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance.
There we go, Malcolm. This is Malcolm. And she pats him on the head quite obnoxiously.
Thank you, dearie.
John.
Continuing to turn his cup, and you hear it make, a slight scraping sound with each revolution or each rotation as he's turning it. And he's, again, looking at both of you as you're having this exchange, and, Malcolm is introducing himself. He says, I really have too much to do. I don't have time for this. So, all right, I'll present my case to you. But know this, we would really, really like if Sky accepts our offer to meet him in person. And he says, our circumstances, and he continues to turn the cup, not taking another drink. Our circumstances typically mean that we can handle whatever it is that we do. We're the Bluecoats. But in certain cases, certain circumstances, we're not able to affect our normal weight into a situation. And this is one of those rare circumstances where we need to engage the help of an outside source for more information. All of our usual channels, the scuffling, the fighting, the intimidation, the coercion. And he's using all of these big words, and you're blown away because most of the experiences that you've had with Bluecoats have basically been brutes. They've been, at best, a brute squad. But the fact that you're dealing with somebody who is a captain of some rank in the Bluecoats gives you some pause as you realize that in his communication and in the way he's talking to you, there is a sort of a brute, a brusque elegance to you, or an effort at elegance, an effort to communicate more thoughtfully. He says,
Just a lot of fancy words from a very fancy person.
Shakes his head and takes another drink and says, it's not my start, lass. But, and he pauses for a second, we have need of information. And through various sources, some being idiots, some being, how shall I say, bad individuals. We've come to learn that Sky might be a person that we can trust with discretion to follow through on a contract. And he stresses that word very specifically.
Trust the sky. Have you not seen the weather? Who can trust that in this day and age?
Takes another drink and says, fair points. It's always rainy. But we need a little bit of information. something very, very specific. And I'm going to tell you that, and I hope that you can communicate to Sky that we trust his discretion in helping us identify a particular situation which we might be able to.
You looking for information? Wouldn't happen to have anything to do with the break-in that happened at the precinct in Six Towers? Would it?
As he pauses, as you say that, he's looking down at his cup. And he turns to you and says, "Why, Sky, it's finally good to meet you."
Ari's going to giggle at this and still continue twirling the mustache just a little bit.
I'm so very glad that you decided to stop pretending. Because we have quite an opportunity here to build a nice little friendship. And maybe help with that little situation in the docks that you might have screwed up.
Oh, I screw everything, so it's okay.
Calm down, darling. Now, you say you want information on this situation. I want information on how you knew to find me.
He shakes his head and he says, "One thing at a time, Sky. You have some insight into what we're asking. Would you like to know the details of the job that we're offering you? And then we can talk terms? Or do you want to get something for nothing?"
I'm going with terms. I don't know about you, Malky Poo.
Terms works just fine.
So let me share with you what I understand. Let me share with you what we're asking, and then we can talk terms. You, Sky, are somebody who's quite a bit of how should I put this? You're a bit of a brute.
That he is.
You've got a bit of a reputation for finding information by any means necessary.
Oh, come now. Let's not be so vulgar.
I'll ask Moon that when I see him next. But anyways, and he's just, you can see him wince with pain for just a second. And he looks at you and he says, "But really the matter at hand is what we need and how we can help you. What we need is information. Although if you can get us quite a bit more than that, that would be important. But we need information right now." And he looks around at the rest of the tavern and watches the frivolity and the noise level. And he leans in and he says, "What do you know about the Six Towers and the break-in that happened recently, some weeks back?"
Now, as you just said, it'd be foolish for me to give away information, give something for nothing.
Oh, no. This isn't... I'm trying to understand how much you know before I tell you what we're asking. Because I want to make sure not to repeat myself.
Why don't you take it from the top?
Ari's going to
Fair.
sense the tension at this point, and she's just going to pick up both men's flagons or of whatever they're drinking and take it back to the counter to get a refill.
Okay, so as you step away, he looks at you and says, "Don't go too far, lass." And he gives you this very stern look.
I knew you couldn't resist, and she continues to saunter away.
So
for
as
a brief
you-
moment, as she's walking away and like going around to the bar, I'd like to just kind of be looking at her as she goes and then doing a quick scan of the bar to see if I see anyone who seems like they're watching us.
Yes.
I was actually going to say, and I didn't want to interrupt. Grin is checking for anyone that's been paying attention to that table.
So there is another table of a couple of individuals who are dressed very, very poorly. But I should say they're poorly disguising the fact that they're quite brutish individuals. They're drinking, but not heavily, and paying attention to what's going on at the table. Grin, as you're also kind of looking around, you notice, and Ari is going to notice this as well as she begins to make her way towards the bar. As you look towards the outside, the door, the doorway outside, you notice that there is a small group of Bluecoats in uniform,
Oh no!
kind of standing outside, kind of
While I'm at
loitering, but under a lamppost.
While I'm at the counter, then I'm going to drop my napkin.
Grin gets
But-
up and he starts patting his pockets for his tobacco and heads out the front door.
This should give us at least 5 to 10 minutes before something happens and then we can get out. So hopefully that also gives Sky enough time.
Oh, God.
So as Ari moves away, the Brance, the captain, leans forward and says, "I don't have time for games, but I'm going to humor you just this once." He says, "Some weeks back, there was a break-in in Six Towers at our HQ. It's a sprawling estate, kind of set off from the road. It used to be a noble house at one point, a noble family's estate before they abandoned Six Towers for the most. And so as the Bluecoats, we had our choice of some locations, and we chose this. Some other operations may happen out of there as well. You know, we've got plenty of friends in the neighborhood. But some weeks back, we had an unusual, how would I say, assault on our grounds, and some items were stolen. Typically, these would be, you know, we would expect weapons or that kind of a thing. But in this particular case, we were holding on to something as a favor to some friends of ours. And it turns out that a couple of books were stolen from us. Now, I'm not a reader myself. I file reports, I can scribble, I can read what the couriers bring to me, but for the most part, I don't read. However, the individuals with which we were holding this book for, these are matters of great importance. Now, we've done our own kind of asking around, kind of being a bit of brutish, as I described before, kind of muscling in, and we've got a couple of leads. We're following up with them, but there's one individual that we just can't seem to find, and so we're looking for help.
I may be able to help you in your finding what you're seeking, but I have a few questions. The books that were stolen, were they anything valuable? Were they anything important?
Well, that's in the eye of the beholder, as the common phrase believes. I don't know, but I know that they were important to the people that asked us to hold them. I know that my relationship and the relationship of, and he kind of grabs his coat and kind of shakes it a little bit, of my brothers in arms, I know it's important to them. So these books are important to us. Now, we're asking around. We've got a couple of questions that we need to ask a couple of individuals, and I'm sure that that will get quite rough. But we need to find one particular individual, the only line of questioning that appears to have gone cold. And really, discretion is important here because we don't need anyone else really kind of finding out about it. And he pats his coat. And Ari, you're walking up as this is going on, and he says, "We don't really need anybody else. We don't need this to kind of, we need discretion." And as he's patting his coat, it's obvious to you that he's implying that other blue coat groups, other districts of blue coats, don't need to be aware of that, and that information just immediately comes to your mind. And so he looks around and he says, "So yeah, discretion is key, and of all of the purveyors of information that we've spoken to so far, you have a reputation for being discreet."
I'm glad my reputation precedes me, although the fact that I have a reputation at all means it hasn't been good enough.
Oh, I've had to beat it out of a couple of people, so don't feel so bad. And he, kind of, you hear the knuckles crack as he makes a fist for just a second, and you realize that his gait and his arthritic behavior is almost a little bit exaggerated, that he still has some strength in him.
As Ari approaches back to the table, she's going to actually just like straight up sit on his lap while she hands him the next drink.
Yeah. Are you Brance's, the captains, or Malcolm's, Sky's?
Oh no, like the captains.
Okay.
Oh.
All right.
She switches now.
Oh, okay.
She's like, now. There's no need for any of that peacocking here. We understand your message perfectly.
He shakes his head and looks at you and then says, "So if we have a opportunity to work together, I will give you the details."
Sky's looking a little peeved at what she's doing, but
okay.
He's not saying anything about it directly yet, but his tone has changed from he was at least a little bit kind of cordial, friendly. Well, it seems we have some sort of agreement that should be coming along then. You want information on one individual, and you said possibly something else? We are generally movers of goods and not information.
No, but discretion is important to us, and there might be a good that is involved.
These books, then.
Correct.
So, is there anything else that you know about these men?
Oh, we know plenty. We just can't seem to find one of them.
Which one? Do you have any information on them at all? A name, an appearance?
Oh, we've got plenty of information on his cohorts. We've got
Sorry.
No,
I
go
would
ahead.
like to use sway at this point.
Okay.
To try and get more information out of him than he was actually willing to give in the first place.
Okay, so
Well,
taking an action is great, but I'd love to hear what you'd say to him to convince him that he needs to give you more information, and then we'll have you do that roll.
ooh, okay. She's going to say to him how he has a lot more people watching over his back than we have watching over our backs. And maybe if he would like to work with us again, it would be in his best interest to tell us a little bit more so we might be able to help him further in the future, not just today. And how I would really, really like that information.
All right, please roll it. That was beautiful. Please roll it. So you're going to roll a sway.
Okay, so
Go ahead and click on the
would
action name.
it would be controlled, risky, desperate?
Guys, what do you guys think? I have an idea, but I'm kind of curious to hear what the rest of the table says.
I have an idea. We all have 2 crits. Thanks to North Donation.
That was one thing I was going to bring up, but I was going to say risky.
Yeah.
Okay, and why do you guys think it's risky? I'm just curious.
Well, though we are in an environment which is basically controlled in a sense by Ari, this guy has been very aloof.
Yeah.
In all of his dealings with the table, and the control that Ari has is not quite absolute because of the other people at the other table and the Bluecoats at the door. But I wouldn't say it's desperate because she does still have some control. She has some backup in this location.
Sure, absolutely.
Risky too.
Okay. All right. So I agree with you, and that was exactly the position I was going to suggest, that because it's not a dire situation. There's not life or death, but it's also not a situation where she is completely in control of her environment. So absolutely. So risky. So effect. I'm going to say that this is. I'm going to jump in first because I think there's an opportunity here for you to you can go to great, or you can go even to standard, because what you're asking for is more than just like his cooperation. You're asking for his cooperation and his acceptance. Plus, you're looking for more information than just
that he would normally share.
Yeah,
exactly.
Willing to share. Like, I want to almost know, like, what are his intentions beyond this mission?
Right. Exactly.
Because you don't simply just come and ask somebody to do a mission for you without there being some sort of reason as to why you're asking them in the first place.
Right, absolutely. So unless anybody can think of a reason why it would be great, where he would basically just spill the entire beans. I mean, again, the situation is not completely in your control right now, so it almost seems like the effect would be standard to me.
Yeah. I would agree with standard. I also intend to probably have some sort of action roll, which is to try and convince him to possibly shake my hand that he will do everything in his power to get rid of all record of Moon and muscles from the Bluecoats. But that would be something separate, probably.
Well, right, but so that's terms, right? You haven't even got to terms yet.
Yeah,
you were asking for more information. She is attempting to guarantee that you get that more information. So yeah, I think if you're going to do that, then yeah, that's definitely a separate. It's a separate role, but it's also probably part of the terms of the score that he's asking you to accomplish.
I'm trying to be very, very persuasive right now.
No.
Okay.
I just thought you were flirting.
Wait, is there any difference?
Yes, that's the scary part.
Fair enough. All right, so we're talking about a sway roll that is risky as a position. Effect is going to be standard. So I believe the last thing is, additional dies. Do you want to push yourself? Are you comfortable enough with? I think you have a 2 in sway, right?
Yep.
So you can either roll with the 2 dice. You can push yourself to get an additional die, which would mean stress, or you could take a devil's bargain. And the devil's bargain would be instead of taking stress, you would have a consequence happen as a result of you kind of like, essentially gaining the benefit. So it's like a bit of luck, but also there's a bit of like, it's fate basically kind of intervening as well. If you choose to do that, then we'll specify something prior to that, and then you can either agree or not to agree to take the devil's bargain. So do you want to do either of those?
I actually think I will just take the extra crit bit, and that's it.
So you're gonna just take it anyways with that. Okay. So, all right. You don't even have to roll. You don't even have to click. You're done. You definitely sway him as you say those things to him as, he was about to give some information to this guy. He kind of looks at you for a second.
Finger along the chin, Oh.
He grabs you by your hips as you're sitting on him, and it kind of lifts you up a little bit off, and you feel more strength in him. And his left arm, you feel a little bit of a shake, but he lifts you up off of him, kind of gently, pushing you in a direction so that you're actually standing back up. And he says, "This is business. This is business, lass. This is business." And he gives you a look like knowingly, like he knows that he can take you serious now, that he realizes that there's more of this, there's more to you than just a pretty face. Like you're not just the face. You're somebody to be taken seriously. And so by him removing you, he's letting you know that he's extending you respect. So he kind of just gently kind of picks you up and puts you back into a situation where he pushing you away, takes a drink from it, and looks at Sky and says, "You choose your people well. This lass, she's good."
Not good enough, apparently.
I like.
He looks at you. He looks at you he looks at Ari with respect again, but also gives you kind of a wink as you
sit back down next to
Sky.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "So, if we're to the point of terms, I will give you the information. But let's be clear. You are working for us, Sky. We are not working for you."
This is fine.
Now,
I do jobs for people. I'm no different. Except that you have something in particular that I want that is a bit more personal to me than just coin. And that is discretion.
we are asking for yours. I cannot extend anything but mine.
Well, there's more than just the simple discretion of hiding what dealings go on here, but rather the fact that you were able to find me. The fact that you had access to some previous associates of mine.
Well, let's be clear here. As I understand it, according to what my good man says over at Iron Hook, you were the reason that we were able to talk to Muscles. He spoke very freely of you. He said something about, doing exactly what Sky asked. Going to deliver potatoes to Iron Hook. So I would just recommend that you choose your words wisely next time when dealing with somebody as simple as Muscles.
This is true. Perhaps a fool's errand is too much even for a fool.
Okay. What are your terms?
You found Muscles one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still have him?
He's a model prisoner. Iron Hook does well for him. He works well in the fields, keeps to himself for the most part. He finds peace, I think, in the structured life of Iron Hook.
That's lovely to hear. Of course.
I know where this is going.
My grandfather always told me that the only good prison is a dead one. Sounds more like the model of one we might want.
Is that really your price? He's such a good boy, according to what I'm told. But if that is...
Well, it's not quite his head that I desire. Rather, well, certainly having his tongue cut out might be certainly enough. And, well, perhaps tightening the lips of anyone who may have heard the rumors he's been spouting.
In this matter, consider the how should I put this? And he's really reaching for the word, because he's trying to, and you realize at this moment you're dealing with somebody who is trying to be better than himself in respect to his errors and how he presents himself. He has done quite a good amount of effort. He's put quite a good amount of effort to use bigger words because of his job and how he has to deal with people. But you realize at this point that you are dealing with somebody who is still you are still dealing a brute, at the end of the day. And he's looking for the word to be as eloquent as he thinks that he needs to be. And he gets frustrated, and he takes a drink, and he says, "You will gain his silence."
Good.
Now.
His silence, yes. Now, there was one other thing you said that was interesting to me still. You said the next time you speak with Moon.
Yes.
Tell me. Where lies his spirit?
Spirits? I have no idea. I have no idea what you're talking about. And he smiles a little bit. He says, "One thing at a time, Sky. One thing at a time. Now, shall we come to terms so I may give you the information that we seek? Possibly the items that need to be retrieved?"
Your tight lips are certainly, well, they're a sign of your discretion, I suppose. We can come to terms. Upon completion of this job, you will silence Muscles and anyone who knows anything about him, or anyone who you know who has information on us. You will make sure they never speak of us again, in whatever means you have necessary.
Your terms are acceptable.
And you will do
But
the same
here's
for
mine.
Moon. Do the same for Moon.
I don't know what you speak of there, Sky. He says, "My terms are simple. You were to locate Nicholas Penderin and return any items that he might have taken on his night in our lovely establishment."
I am more than willing to agree to that. However, the issue of Moon is one that still looms high
He
in my
begins to
mind.
stand, and he says, "Well, I think we're done here. I think we've agreed on terms. And as he
I
stands,
don't think we have quite yet.
as he stands, you see that there is a number of Bluecoats standing in the doorway. And if there's nothing else, and he begins to turn.
Patience. We agree to terms, but I need to know you can keep your end of the bargain. Certainly you know how these things work.
Upon completion of the job, he takes his cup again, looks at Ari, says, "You're clever, lass." Takes a drink, and begins to make his move out.
At this point, I am really, really hoping that that signal Ari gave 5 to 10 minutes ago might start to kick into effect.
Well, so what exactly did you want to happen with that signal? You agreed the terms of a courier, right? Or somebody to come in, or was that a bar fight?
Well, I think my signal actually ends up going to Grin. Grin was in
Went
the
outside
person
and
who
lit a
signal.
cigarette.
I went outside to light a cigarette, and then Grin, seeing these 6 Bluecoats under a lamppost. I'm wondering. Tell me about these 6 guys.
Can I take them?
They are all clearly very physical. I mean, you could probably take a couple of them because let's think about it this way, right? Grin is a merc. He's an ex-soldier. He's seen a lot of battle. He's probably carrying his blade on him, or at least some of his blades on him. So he could probably make a huge sway, of effort into these guys and take a couple of them down. 6 would be a little bit of a challenge.
I'll be honest, I've got 2 crits to burn, and I'm not opposed to a devil's bargain. And I'm just wondering if Grin could do something
3 crits
literally.
now.
Jesus Christ.
I'm
We're gonna
really
need to change that
wondering.
donation goal. It's a problem.
It's beautiful and terrible all at the same time.
It would not.
Unless
it would
people
not
start
be-
giving more to the DM, like.
Now, again,
Why does no one want us to fail?
I'm just thinking.
would-
I'm just thinking. It would be really. It'd be kind of amazing, but it's just gonna lead to a world of hurt. Grin can't kill Bluecoats, and he knows he can't kill Bluecoats, and he's already been made. But if the alternative is lighting that cigarette and tipping Hocus off, so that it's already too late, and Grin knows that there's 6 Bluecoats outside. He made the 2 inside. This doesn't. The only way this ends well is everyone walks away. So Grin's not gonna pick a fight. I really want him to, but he doesn't want to. So I don't think he likes that cigarette because that's not going to work. We were assuming that it might be just 1 or 2 guys. We're looking at 9, including the captain.
Well, there's also the fact that we had decided that it didn't make any sense for Hocus to show up.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was going to
So
be.
whether
It was
you
going to
like
be.
the cigarette or anything.
Right,
Hocus
it was-
was there.
Hocus is,
You were gonna-
Hocus is
you were-
not there.
Right.
You just stand out there smoking.
You're right.
I really feel that Ari would end up being irrational at this point and just cause commotion in the tavern.
That would
Like-
it would make sense to cause a ruckus between Ari and Grin if we were trying to make an escape. But
Well,
we're not.
we're
just
not.
trying. We just want to get away at this point. We although Grin doesn't know that because he stepped outside.
Well, I imagine you stepped outside and probably stepped back inside after you saw the Bluecoats, right? Because
Yeah.
The exchange happened where Ari gave you the signal. Grin goes outside, assesses the situation, and realizes that
And it's like, oh, I didn't bring my tobacco. Shit.
Right. Yeah. No. Grin's gone back inside, and if anything, he's next to the door, so that if those 6 guys outside make a move to come in, Grin's going to bar the damn door.
I don't know. It sounds like chat wants a bar fight.
I bet they do. How does it feel to walk, fuckers?
Well, I'll be
Sounds like fun.
I'll be honest.
If a bar fight breaks out, we don't get the job, and like all of this just falls apart. That's the problem.
Well, we already have the job, don't we? It's not our fault if the bar breaks out in a fight.
I
I'm
mean,
leaving now. I mean, right now is the perfect time for a bar fight.
All
if
right,
we
then
get it-
Ari's just gonna chuck her flagon like at one of the people doing arm wrestling in the corner. You know, the gentleman, the captain, and her like had that little moment where like, yeah, finish the drink and.
and then,
I can literally see you just looking at
So you throw the flagon as the captain, Brance, begins to kind of move, is making his way through the crowd. It crashes against the wall. The two that are arm wrestling in the corner kind of look up, and they're looking around, and they're kind of trying to figure it out, while somebody next to them hits one across the head, you know, basically indicating that they need to continue because they've got a bet on this. When immediately that person, you know, one of the arm wrestlers, the one that just got hit over across the head, immediately turns around and decks that guy because he just slapped him across the head. And immediately from there, the opposing person who had put a bet, you know, on, or who was the other being arm wrestled, all of a sudden they hit that guy that they were arm wrestling with because that was their friend that was betting on them and not him. And next thing you know, the fight begins to kind of brew out from that. And Brance gets to the door and kind of looks back and shakes his head and continues to move on. And gets into a carriage run by the cabbies, along with a couple of those Bluecoats, and those other Bluecoats just kind of jump onto another, and kind of realize that those were Bluecoats from 6 Towers, and they have nothing to do with this particular district. As they move on, as the fight begins to kind of break out all around you.
At this point, Ari's gonna giggle just as much as I just did, but she's also going to grab Sky by the hand, give him a quick little wink, and drag him to the back of the bar through Clara's own exit.
yeah. Sky will give a quick sigh and then just link arms with her and cheerily walk out.
So do you drag Grin along with you? Does Grin just get shit-faced drunk and get involved in the fight? I mean, it's been a couple of sessions since he's had any action. So,
Well, there's no point me going after them and having to explain why I'm following them out the back. So I finish my drink and find the first guy that's getting rowdy and literally put him to the ground.
So
Jesus
Brynn
Christ.
holds himself in a fight as Ari and Sky begin to make their way out the back. And Ari, you give one last glance and you see Clara just kind of give you a wave as, she just begins to kind of, wrangle and try to get things going. But, this is a very common thing, as the night goes on at the Green Dragon. So, she just realizes that it's, part of the business. As you two slip out, and Grin, you just you find your way into the fight, and of course you come out on top. And the next thing you know, after 5 minutes, as things begin to kind of settle down, and you pick up you're helping people pick up people off the ground, and kind of shoving them out the door, doing your thing. But you've had this clearly dominant nature, or this dominance in the fight. And Clara kind of wanders up and buys you a drink, and kind of begins to engage you as there's all of a sudden it goes from being a big fight to a big series of tall tales and stories about the best fights that everybody had been in, and that's where we'll just kind of fade out. Mm-hmm. So where do we find you guys now?
God damn it.
You now have a job. You now have a score that has been given to you by the Bluecoats. You are to find Nicholas Pendrin.
Yeah. We have a score. I suppose meet back at Donovan's and get plotting. God damn it, that could have gone better now, couldn't it?
Could have gone
Could've
worse.
gone worse.
That's true, I suppose. Still, what was the point of that bar fight at the end? We didn't need to be causing no trouble. Thought you liked that bar.
What's more fun than a bar fight? It's the best kind of exit to make.
I like you.
Besides, it looks like Grin got in on some action.
I've got a slab of meat on my face.
Don't know what kind of meat, but you know,
It's eel.
I have an eel.
right?
Better not be goat.
Gross.
Oh.
No! Not the ghost.
So, well, we certainly got some information there.
We got a job.
We got a job. They want us to find this Nicholas Penderton fella.
Where do we start?
So I realized that after Ari's role that I didn't give you additional pieces of information that I probably should have. So I'm just going to list a couple of additional things that probably would have come out in the conversation. I mean, you were intimately focused on the fact that he had mentioned Moon, and also worried about muscles. But I'm going to assume that there would have also been a little bit more of a conversation that was going on about the details that he would have offered, especially given the fact that Ari used the crit and probably would have given some, there would have been more conveyed. So I'm going to give you a couple additional pieces, and then that should give you some context about where you're supposed to be, or, maybe where to start. So Nicholas Penderton, he would have told you that he's an academic who focuses on spiritual things. So essentially, he's a whisperer.
Mm-hmm.
He would have told you also that he doesn't typically run with the crew consistently, but that he occasionally does jobs with someone who goes by the alias of OC.
And that, I imagine,
Ari would have perked up.
Yeah.
And that there were 3 books that were stolen, and that any of those items recovered were of importance to them. These were 3 items that were, they were holding for somebody else. He would not reveal who he was, who the Bluecoats were actually doing this favor for, though.
Got it. So, well, all right. It seemed like he mentioned OC. Isn't that friend of yours we sent some heat off onto the other day?
Maybe. Yes, it is.
Well, it seems like we've got to start for sure.
Are you saying I should contact OC after we just sent?
No. I would not in any way ask you to go talk to her. But you know a bit about her. You know where to find her, obviously. You could certainly use your connections, hear some rumors, maybe find out where she's been working lately, if she might have had a gentleman friend brought along with her.
I like your thinking. Plus, we still have yet to find out what Sling discovers in the underground.
This is true. I haven't seen her since that negotiation, but she'll be back. She has to be.
She will be. Sewer rats don't stay in the sewers for long.
And lure can only last someone so long.
Sounds to me like we have a plan, boys.
I'd say so.
Okay. So how do you guys want to start researching or investigating for this score?
I'll turn that to Ari to start with. I mean, you're the one with the brothel connections.
So I do have a connection there other than OC, but her and I don't particularly get along very well.
Okay.
Nyrix and I were essentially rivals in that brothel. I pissed her off, as I feel like I probably do many people.
Wait, did you say her name was Nyrex?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna get really confused here because we've got Nyrex, we've got Nyx, and we've got Nicholas.
I went with the given name. This was the given name in the list. On my defense for that prostitute.
If we go around asking for someone named Nick, we might get a few different answers.
Okay, I gotta step back for a second and go from the game level or the character level to the player / meta / game level. Ari, do you know anything about Nyrix?
All I knew was the very small paragraph that came with it of just a prostitute.
Okay. Do you know anything about OC's relationship or Madame or Orange Crush's relationship on the other show with Nye? Because she refers to her as Nye. Oh, this is beautiful. Okay, all right, great. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. This is going to be so much fun. Okay, so so are you going to try to engage Nyrix for information?
Sure, let's do it. For
I mean,
the sake of the drama.
Maybe you said that she doesn't like you very much. Maybe you shouldn't go.
Too late.
I mean, she's always taken a particular fancy to the same kinds that I do. Hence a bit of our rivalry of sorts.
Can I ask a question about Ari and her background with OC? This was actually something that I think Lauren, Miss Ginger Ninja, was curious about as well. And we touched on it briefly, but do you have an idea or do you know what your previous relationship with OC was as Ari?
I haven't discussed it with OC, but I imagine that we know not necessarily rivals per se, but respect each other.
Okay.
Just happen to work in the same place.
Were you perhaps?
Rivals,
I mean,
we had to have bad blood in order for us to send heat to her, right?
Well,
yeah.
I'm sure that there's something, and I'm wondering if, and this also plays into the way that she interacts with Nyrix. Were you perhaps lovers at one point? I mean, is that relationship, intimate in any form? And I'm not saying it has to be sexual, and I'm not saying it has to be just, was there an intimacy to it that there was some level of affection?
I'm going to say we were as close as sisters once.
Okay.
And that relationship has since been scorned.
Okay.
Sisters or more, that is up to future unfolding to find out.
Okay.
But very close once. But there was bad blood now.
Right.
After something happened. I'm definitely going to discuss this more with OC. But
yes, please do, because I'll be honest with you. This sounds really intriguing because I know that Hocus and Violet Vale have a pre-existing connection of some kind, and that's something that Trendane and Lisa have talked about. So, and I know that Speedy and Mike have talked about, the connection between a potential connection or even a possible just awareness of between Sky and Nyx. Mm-hmm. So, the more connections between the crews, whether it's reputation, whether it's past history, whether it's just What were you saying about what, Joff? What's wrong?
I got no connections.
Well, make a connection then, buddy.
Yeah.
If our bomb needs, bottom needs some love.
Uh-huh.
But so if you guys have that you can have that conversation at some point. I think we'd all be fans of hearing what the results of that is.
Knowing Ari's tendency to have a connection in a bunch of different deviant factions,
Mm-hmm.
I'm very tempted to say that maybe she sided with somebody when she should have sided with OC.
Interesting. Okay, I could see that. Absolutely. Okay, so putting the position back on, or putting the question back on Ari, what are you going to do to start finding information on this?
Looks like I'm about to head back on into that brothel.
Okay.
Unashamedly.
Okay.
And see what kind of Ari charm Ari can bring on up. This is going to go so badly. But I feel like this is what Ari would do. She would just say, we'll leave it up to the fates and walk on in there and see what she can get.
Okay. So does that mean that you're going to approach Nyrix directly, or are you going to just go to the brothel and kind of fish for more information about what's going on with OC?
She's going to go to the brothel, but she's going to be very aware that Nyrix will most likely be there.
Okay.
And she just kind of doesn't really care too much if Nyrix is there.
All right. And so what information are you specifically looking for, and how are you going about acquiring it while at the brothel? Like, I mean, let me ask a very leading question. Are you looking specifically for information about OC and her activities and who she's been running with? Or are you looking for information about previous jobs that she's done? Or are you looking for something else?
I guess I'm looking for what's ever going to be the handiest for our next mission. Not even putting them into consideration.
Okay.
Just literally going for the job at hand.
Okay. So what's it like returning back to the brothel that you had spent so much time in early on in your life?
It's bittersweet. It's somewhere that's familiar, but sends kind of that awkward shiver up her spine. She's not comfortable here. She doesn't feel like she belongs here anymore. She's already burnt those bridges, moved on to someone else. And while this was once her home, it has that ghost of it that makes her definitely feel like it no longer is.
Okay, and so when you enter, you probably make a grand entrance, as Ari usually does, I would assume. Or would you show more reverence to the fact that this is a previous establishment that you'd worked at?
You know what? Grand entrance as per usual. Right. So no need to bow. The black sheep has come home at last.
Flamboyantly, you enter into the hallway that is this, the entryway of this establishment. And immediately you make your way into the parlor, which is one of the 2 or 3 rooms where choices are made before business is conducted. And the parlor serves a particular purpose because there's quite a large liquor collection behind quite an ornate bar with a beautiful ornate piece of woodwork behind the bar, which surrounds a mirror, and in that mirror you can see essentially the entire room as you make your way to the bar in order to order yourself your favorite fare of drink. You look around. You order 2, and you look around, but you don't recognize anybody necessarily that matches OC or Nyrix, their description. And the person behind the bar is is new, somebody that you don't quite necessarily recognize. But there are a couple of girls and a couple of boys who serviced and did their thing and came up with you while you were there. Kind of flitting around the room and having visits with various potential patrons, and occasionally they break off or they move off into a more of a private alcove in a corner, and there's not necessarily business done openly, but there's a lot of engagement going on. But otherwise, you don't necessarily see or hear anything that seems out of the ordinary at this point. How do you want to proceed?
I would like to look around the room and just kind of, for once, Ari's going to keep very much to herself at this moment in time. She's going to wait for somebody to approach her rather than the other way around, 'cause she knows that if she sticks around long enough, someone's going to have something to say to her. Whether it's good, bad, indifferent.
Okay, so you're on your third drink. The normal establishment workers are kind of leaving you be because they know that you're in the business. Even the ones that you don't recognize, there's a particular air, there's a particular approach, there's a particular.
What gave it away?
There's a lot of that, but then a quite young one enters the room, and he's probably 16, a little too young to be working still in still kind of finding his way in the world, but he kind of wanders towards you, and he's working the crowd and talking to various patrons who trying to engage them, and he's failing horribly. Like, you can see that he is still being schooled in the ways of engaging people for pleasure. And he kind of makes his way up to the bar, and the bartender behind kind of looks at him and says, "Having trouble again tonight, Aldo?" And he shakes his head and he says, "Yeah, I'm not getting it." And you hear this exchange, and you see that this young lad is just really having problems, with the fact that he's not alluring enough, or somebody's not latching on to the fact that he's alluring.
Need any hints or tips?
Kind of looks off to the side and, I'm sorry. I thought you were a patron. He just kind of sighs.
Do I look that old? And I slide a drink over to him.
He kind of looks at you and takes a drink and says, "No, do I not look enticing to you?" And he tries to put on airs and kind of affect this alluring sort of, but very masculine kind of a thing, thinking that that's trying to read you essentially and figure out what it is that you would like. But he's clearly failing at it, and just kind of when you kind of giggle. Exactly, when you kind of giggle. Both you and Trend, man, that's funny. That's hilarious. As he's affecting this, you're hiding a giggle a little bit. You're having to cover your mouth, and he just begins to get embarrassed and takes a swig off the drink, and he's like, I knew it, and he begins to walk off.
Hang on. She signals him.
He kind of looks back at you, and he kind of stumbles back over, and the bartender looks at you and says, they're still working with him. He's one of Nyrix's special projects.
Let me give you a few hints. And she taps the seat next to her.
And he sits down, and he clearly loses. I mean, he is so still green that he loses all pretense of him actually being working, and he just kind of sits down glumly, and you can see that exactly. And he sits down and he kind of looks at you, and as he accepts a second drink from the bartender.
Aldo, was it?
Yes, ma'am.
Aldo, you're trying too hard. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to let you know how it is.
Thank you, because that's painful. Sorry.
Actually, Trent, if you want to step in and play Aldo, this is kind of entertaining.
Oh boy.
Please do.
All right.
But watch Discord. I'm going to feed you a couple of things.
Okay.
I think you're trying a little too hard, Aldo. You need to relax.
But everybody else makes it look so easy.
That's because it is easy.
But then why am I having such a hard time? I mean, I'm relaxed.
Finish your drink. Finish your drink.
Both of them or just this one?
Both right now. Now then, I want you to tell yourself something a moment, and I want you to believe it, just like you want me to believe it. Because the person that you're trying most to convince in this room is yourself. You need to convince yourself, I am the most wanted person here. I am the thing that everybody desires, and I want you to believe it. When you believe it, so will everyone else. What do you like about yourself?
People say I have nice eyes.
You don't have nice eyes. You have the best eyes. You have the best eyes in this whole damn city. Look at that person over there. That lady, what's her name? Do you really think she has better eyes than you?
That one there?
Yes, that one there in...
But her eyes are brown.
Right. And what color are yours?
Hazel?
Oh, isn't hazel so much prettier than brown?
Well, I mean, if I'm supposed to make her feel, why do I have to present myself like I'm the best thing since sliced eel? I don't understand.
Because in order for people to want you, they have to think that you want yourself. You have to sell yourself like you are the best item or the best object, because that's all that people see you as when you're here. They see you as the object that you are. If you are able to sell yourself as a rare, valuable, priceless object, then people will start to believe it.
Nyrex tells me that sometimes too.
She's a smart lass.
She's
always been smart.
She's just more forceful about it than you are, really.
I've just been out of the game for too long.
Well,
At this point,
you don't get as angry as she does. That's probably good.
Where's the fun in being angry?
She seems to find it quite pleasurable.
It always was her way. Now then, what's your name?
Aldo, we talked about that already.
No. Sell yourself to me.
Let me get straightened himself a little bit too much and almost rips a button off of his shirt in the process. My name is Aldo. Wait, I can do that better. Wait. My name is Aldo.
And why should I pick you out of all these other people, Aldo?
Haven't you already?
Good answer. And at this point, she's also then going to tip a coin his way. Now, Aldo, you don't happen to have seen anyone around here, have you, with those hazel eyes?
I see quite a few people.
You're getting the hang of this.
He blushes.
Has Nyx been around lately?
Well, she's been gone quite often lately, which I guess is why it's so much more pleasant to have a kinder hand at the
Things don't always need to be rough.
she and OC tend to, frequently together when they're here. I presume they're gone they're gone at the same. They are often gone at the same time.
So you don't happen to know where OC and Nyx may have been dealing their pleasures?
Well, when they're here, they talk about business that doesn't usually take place here, and there was a man that they were with a couple of weeks back, and Nicholas, and they were talking about books. I think they did say the last time they were. I shouldn't be saying this.
Shh. It's okay. Just
Sort of,
know. Oh, you go.
I was going to say he sort of rolls the coin back and forth across his fingers absently. And sort of looks up at you with a sudden kind of, and, kind of.
She slides across her second of 3 coins. God damn it.
Said that they were going to meet him at the well.
At the well. Thank you. Aldo, was it?
It is.
We shall meet again, Aldo. For now, remember, you have the best eyes here, and anybody who looks into them should be lost in your entrance.
And if I may say, your lips are really pretty.
Ari's just going to give like a Grin-esque smirk. Well, not that much of a Grin-esque smirk, but but yeah, a little snide smile. Finish her drink, slide him across one more, and walk her way back out.
So just to kind of finish the narrative for Aldo, what happens to Aldo? What with this empowerment and this what happens to him?
Well, he slips before she leaves.
Mm-hmm.
He puts his finger on that third coin and slides it back across the surface towards her and says, "For a kiss."
All right. So Ari, at this point, she's going to kind of straighten herself up, lean all the way in to when she's just this far apart, slide the coin back over, and say, "You really have got the hang of this now." And walk her way back out with a slight peck on the cheek.
He's like, but only gets back on the cheek. Okay.
He gets the kiss on the cheek.
Okay. So if it was possible for the blush to get any worse, it does. And he picks up that third coin and kind of smiles and nods and sort of sits up a little bit straighter as Ari is walking out, and sort of leans back a bit on the bar with a little more swagger than he had before. And starts looking around the bar going, "All right, I need to practice."
I just took the brothels like kids up to another level. There we go.
Jesus Christ.
All right, guys, that was excellent. So, information that you gathered from that is essentially that OC and Nyrix are not around the brothel as much as they expect. There was conversation about things other than the brothel's business.
Yeah.
Being related to an individual by the name of Nicholas. And though I think Aldo gave you a bit of incorrect information when he said the well, I actually meant for you to say the veil.
Oh, the veil.
What well? The spirit well? They've already been to the spirit well.
Yeah, exactly. But that Nicholas had said something about the veil.
Oh yeah, I misread that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I completely understand.
Okay.
You did an amazing job, with the information that I fed you. So kudos to you guys. That was really awesome. Okay, so you step away from that and you find out that you've got that information. I would love to leave you guys on another cliffhanger, but there really isn't a setup for that at this point, and we're at it's essentially 10:55 on the East Coast, 7:55 here, and I'm not even sure what it is in your time, Ari. So, Speedy, I'm thinking that we should probably do XP and probably end it here.
Yep, sounds good to me.
Okay. So let's go ahead and go around the table and do experience. Looking at your character sheets, there is a thing called Mark XP towards the bottom of your character sheets. And there are different pieces of information here that you can use as a measure to earn XP. So let's go ahead and go back through that. And we're going to start with, let's start with Speedy.
Sure. So didn't roll any desperate actions, didn't roll any actions at all.
Okay.
At the end, you address the challenge with calculation or conspiracy. I'd say that definitely applies for at least one in the way that we address that meeting. Express my beliefs, drives, heritage, or background. I think I probably expressed some of my drives with the desire to end muscles and consideration of what happened to Moon.
I think that there's multiple instances in that conversation where you express that. So it's definitely going to be at least, it's going to be 2 XP at least coming out of that, because you were put in an uncomfortable situation, and each individual, interaction or each individual conversation piece about muscles and Moon, and your desire to find out more about Moon, you definitely hit 2 XP off of that particular point.
Okay. And then struggled with issues from Vice. That didn't really happen.
Okay. So it sounds like 3 then.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Let's jump over to Grin. How did Grin had a little bit less interaction going on, but he did have some fun going on as well.
He had a little bit of fun. No rolls. Did I address a challenge with violence? I avoided addressing a challenge with violence, and I got to throw a couple punches in a bar fight. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that even warrants XP.
I'm going to say that the bar fight warrants XP because it's part of Grin's nature.
Okay. Yeah, we haven't seen that before.
Yeah. So at least an XP or one point for, or 1 XP for that.
Okay.
And then beliefs, drives, heritage, and background.
There was no opportunity this evening to delve into his past.
Okay. Struggled with your vice or trauma?
I've been reading the manual on this. I had a drink, but it doesn't warrant XP.
Right, but you were controlled when you would typically be uncontrolled, right?
That's true. And I meant to drop during the scene in the bar. I actually wanted to say that the moment he spotted the 2 guys, the 2 Bluecoats at the table watching the conversation, that he was covering his drink so that it wouldn't get refilled. That was him. I was going to have a thing where he switched to business.
Okay, and that that would have been struggling with your vice because you would have. I think from the intent perspective and hearing that, I think you deserve an XP because you had the thought process behind it, even if you didn't get a chance to execute. But next time, just feel free to interrupt because given the circumstance and because you and Ari both noticed something that was going on in the room and necessarily outside, that's the perfect opportunity for you to color the conversation or color the setting with a change in disposition, a change in attitude, a change in your physical position in the room, kind of a thing. So
okay, so that's 2.
All right. So that's 2. All right, excellent. All right, let's go over to Hocus.
Nothing desperate, no real rolls. In fact, I think the only thing that could be any sort of XP would be dealing with a challenge with knowledge, and that was helping refine the plan at the tavern because it's this is how it would go down. There's no reason for a courier to show up there looking for somebody when he had no reason to presume that they were there. So effectively using his knowledge of, no, this is a stupid idea to expel from that equation. Don't rely on me. There's no reason for it.
Okay, excellent.
And then using Ari getting drunk to create a sense of jealousy as the escape route.
Okay, so actually, that sounds to me like you contributed a couple things to that plan, and that worked. So I would argue that sounds like 2 XP to me because you did it multiple times. I mean, because you basically added 2 different significant pieces to that plan. So that to me says you adjust the challenge with your knowledge. So does anybody have a disagreement on that? Does that make sense?
That was all part of the plan.
Right. Beliefs, heritage, drive, and background?
Nothing comes to mind.
So to me, there's one thing that actually comes to mind. And that's, I'm not sure how to quite use this in, so I fed you information privately so that you could feed information to Sky, which gave him the opportunity to use a piece of that information as a part of the conversation.
Right.
So that in itself would not have warranted the possibility of an XP, but the way that you expressed it in respect to, as part of our deal, you have asked me to do this, and I am fulfilling that particular aspect of our deal. So given that circumstance, the way you phrased it, it almost sounds like an XP point to me. Does anybody see anything else whether that shouldn't be there, or because that to me,
I would agree. Okay.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then struggle with your vice or trauma. I don't see anything that happened in here for that.
I
So-
almost want to give him an XP just for role playing as Aldo.
Yeah.
Well, so
That doesn't
that's
apply to Hocus.
You're right. That's fair.
so I actually so one of the reasons I was pushing for the 2 XP and the 2 points of the plan is that was the narrative or mechanical way that we could do it without saying, but it's also an acknowledgement of the fact that you're role playing and the fact that you couldn't resist and you started stepping into the conversation between Ari and I love the fact that you took that over. I think that was beautiful. I love if somebody has feels that particular situation. I think that just is wonderful, and you stepped in and you did amazing. So I think no matter what, you deserve the 3 XP. So we're going to call that awesome. Okay, let's go with Ari.
I did a lot today, and I feel kind of bad about it.
No,
You did.
great.
But I
So-
feel like this is going to happen for each one of us. We're all going to have that one mission or moment where we're all going to have a moment to really be
Shine,
like,
yeah.
this
Mhm,
is my
absolutely.
deal. So, yeah, I definitely went into my background,
Okay.
not only with the brothel, but also with the tavern.
Okay.
And I addressed a challenge with deception or influence a bit when it came to some of our interactions.
Mm-hmm.
Not so sure if it counts with Aldo so much as it did with the captain. I
Right.
mean, I did even use sway on the captain.
Right.
So I think that query counts more than it does with Aldo. I feel like that was just a conversation that worked in her favor.
Well, so I would call that more influence than deception, but yes, I think that absolutely that. I mean, you not only in this way did you change the circumstance with which he was going to approach conversing with you, but how he would converse with Sky and be more honest and direct with Sky, which, and then again, the mechanical version of that didn't get played out so well during the conversation, but you got additional information because of that. So I think you definitely deserve 1 XP for the influence. You addressed a challenge with influence. I think you did multiple cases of the belief in heritage, because there was one about Ari being in the Green Dragon and the brothel that she grew up in, and that the story building that happened there. And then there's the separate experience of Ari moving into the brothel and then, realizing that that's probably an uncomfortable situation, but at the same time, kind of dealing with her past a little bit while, having that conversation with Aldo. So I think so there's 2 XP coming from beliefs, drives, heritage, and background, in my opinion, and then 1 coming from deception or your challenge. You do a challenge with influence.
Yeah.
Your vice is pleasure. Is there a very specific element to that, or is it just generically pleasure?
Overall, it's just generically pleasure, but I think we've made it very clear that her preference is to go for a good drink, and she had a lot of drinks tonight.
Okay, so does that mean that you struggled with your vice there? I mean, were you struggling
I think
to?
I gave into it more than I struggled with it.
Well, giving in. So it's not about indulging your vice is when this is going to generate. It's about walking that line between, for example, for Grin, he's an alcoholic, right? He pleasure, specifically drinking, is his vice. It's the way he expresses himself. But him walking the line and not getting drunk, in this particular case, is an example of him struggling with his vice or his trauma. In the same way, if you're walking that line without crossing it, or you do cross it, but you cross it in a meaningful way. And I think that the way that you presented yourself in the Green Dragon, I think that presents itself as an opportunity where we can talk about, or we can say that you struggled with your vice.
Especially
So-
the point where you had both hands on the thing, and I was looking through the clear bottom of the cup.
Yeah,
And I was like, okay, lady, slow down.
Absolutely. So that's another point of XP. So you're going to get 4 XP this time around. At least that's what's coming from me. Does anybody else have anything or any?
No, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
It was well earned.
Absolutely. I absolutely
that?
agree. Your role playing tonight, Ari, was amazing. That's yet again.
Thank you.
And her interaction with Aldo.
Oh, well, of course, there's always this guy, Aldo, that, that just kind of showed up randomly.
God bless Aldo.
Absolutely.
One of the gods, anyway.
All right. So something that we haven't done on either of the shows previously, and any of the sessions, and we realized last night after the Shroud show last night on Unmade's channel, is we haven't been doing crew XP. And there was a bit of a conversation that was had privately on Discord about that. And so we're going to add that real quickly into here. And it's just a couple of extra questions specifically to the group to find out if you did the same basic thing, but from a crew perspective. And so you guys are a group of smugglers. So let me pull up your smuggler XP thing real quick, and let me ask you this question: did you successfully execute a smuggle, or execute smuggling, or acquire new clients, or contrabands, or sources?
New client.
Yeah, I'd say that seems like a new client to me.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, absolutely agree.
And actually, I would go so far as to call Aldo a source. He could be recurring.
You could approach him as an asset and potentially develop him into a full-time asset or something like that. So absolutely. So that seems to me like it's 2 XP there. So well, of course you are. But you had multiple experiences that fall along the line of execute a successful smuggling or acquiring new clients or contraband sources. Okay, so that's 2 XP. Contend with challenges above your current station.
Yeah, I mean, dealing with the Bluecoats, they're like what, tier 3 or something? Like,
yeah, they're a couple tiers above you guys, so absolutely, you definitely dealt with that. So that's 1 XP. And well, the interaction between Ari and Aldo in OC, in the brothel, and dealing with OC and Nye, if their if their crew had been tier 1, then that would have been another example of dealing with something specifically that would have been a challenge above your current station. So just keep that in mind when there are situations when the 2 crews cross in some way, shape, or form. If there's a tier difference, that will have an effect on the game. Bolster your crew's reputation or develop a new one.
I think we probably bolstered a reputation with the Bluecoats.
Yeah, if the Bluecoats are reaching out to us, it shows that our reputation is growing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll call that 1 XP. And then express the drives, goals, inner conflict, or essential nature of the crew.
Oh, yeah.
And how does that fit in?
So, we've got the drives of trying to close up the loose ends of Moon and Muscles.
Okay.
In a conflict as well with that one.
Yeah. And I would say we kind of expressed the essential nature of the crew in our discussion with the Bluecoats as well. When he was asking us to be looking for information, and I made it clear, like, we're generally moving product, not information. But we'll be willing to do this for you.
Okay. All right, that sounds like 2 then, right? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yes.
That's what you're at? Yeah, that's what I thought you were saying. I just want to I'm just being clear here. So that's 2 there. So that sounds like you guys earned 6 XP?
I've been marking it down. It's a total of 6.
All right. Excellent. So you've acquired 6 XP for your crew. And with that, we've done with all the end of session mechanical stuff. I'm gonna just throw it back over to Speedy.
Yeah, awesome. That is the last we have of the mechanics. So let's go ahead and quickly go around to all of our cast here and have them say, shout out yourself, say where we can find you on the internet and what you thought of today's session. So let's go ahead and start with Trendane.
Bye.
Okay, bye. MadameGandalf.
Go ahead, Trendane.
Yes.
I yield the floor. So as I said at the beginning, for those of you who weren't here, Trent Sparks, I'm a professional voice actor person. And you can find me on Twitter at Trendane. When I'm not here, you can usually find me over on Arvin Elrond's Twitch channel because I myself do not stream from my own Twitch channel, even though I have one. And you can usually find me there where we do live voiceovers of video games, and we have our D&D campaign thing doing that we do twice a month. And yes, and we have begun our Adventures in Middle-earth campaign. And our first episode was this past Tuesday. We have one on the Tuesday coming up, and then we move to every 2 weeks after that.
Oh.
That is also on Arvin Elrond's channel.
How is that going?
Well, the first episode was character creation.
So that's section 0. Okay.
But the thing with the Adventures in Middle-earth is that they took D&D 5th edition and they made it Lord of the Rings. So there's no real magic. There's no spells that you wind up casting. So character creation is a little bit different, and it's pretty neat.
I really want to check it out.
It's very, very
Yeah,
good.
that sounds amazing.
It's made by Cubicle 7.
It's definitely really interesting. I caught a little bit of that, and you've got a great cast there too. Yeah, go follow Arvin Elrond. They've got lots of wonderful voice actors, much like Trendane. All right, next up, let's go to MadameGandalf.
All right, my name is MadameGandalf with an E. Otherwise, it means something very different. And I am a full-time streamer here on Twitch. You can actually catch me in 3 hours. I'll be doing my regular cooking show that I do every week. I have gin and tonics as I do it, so that's always a good amount of fun.
What's your choice of gin?
Oh, it used to be Bombay, but now it's Tanqueray. Or Hendrix. If I'm going to go Hendrix, though, I'm going to do it with cucumber. Rather than lemon and lime.
When you said gin and tonic, my brain immediately heard genitals, and now you're talking about cucumber. And just... Sorry, carry on.
Welcome to the Green Dragon. But yeah, I do a little bit of everything. I play a multitude of games. I also do pub quizzes as well as like cook and sing. So yeah, there's a little bit of everything at my Green Dragon Tavern. So
Excellent. Yeah, the Green Dragon Tavern, which is now also in Blades of the Dark.
Like I said, I vainly had to call it the Green Dragon.
I know you did, and I don't blame you at all. It was great. But yeah, thank you so much. And next up, Owlbare. Off.
Hi. You can find me on Twitter as Owlbare at Owlbare. That's bear as in naked, not bear as in gur. And the next place, next place you'll actually see me is I'm actually playing Predation, a Cypher System game with Johnny and Trendane on Unmade Gaming's channel this Saturday as part of his 12-hour stream. The three of us will not be playing for 12 hours.
Oh, God.
But keep your eyes peeled, and I'll be sharing details probably tomorrow. And yeah, like I say, the game's Saturday. And who knows where you'll see me after that. Here, next week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, next week. There you go.
Yeah.
Maybe twice next week. Who knows?
Maybe, that's right. We have a
No, it's the following week that would be.
Is it the following? Okay.
I think that's the 27th that we're talking about as a possible
As a
date.
make update. But
we've had Hocus and friends. Now we've had Ari and friends. I'm looking forward to Grin and friends.
I have plans for Grin and friends.
Oh, okay.
Good. Yeah, and last but certainly not least, Johnny, tell us about yourself.
My name is Johnny. I run the VideoStoreCowboy channel, which will, starting next week, actually start streaming again, which will be amazing. I'm looking forward to getting back into my own channel. As Joff mentioned, we'll be doing, as a part of the 12-hour stream, we're going to be running the game Predation, or the setting Predation in the Cypher System games. And essentially it is time travel, cybernetics, laser guns and dinosaurs. So yes, and yes, more yes, all kinds of yes. As Mike likes to describe it, it's basically Ark
survival.
So survival evolved, but essentially a system. So we're looking forward to fun. And those are never serious. In fact, when I ran the first Blades in the Dark one shot over there, that was not serious. In fact, when we ran on Speedy's channel, it wasn't it wasn't serious either.
It's hard to see that coming back to this now serious one where it's like, why did you send Muscles to prison with a sack of potatoes? I don't know. I can't really explain why the old Sky would do that.
The old Sky is definitely entertaining. The new Sky is even more entertaining, and I'm enjoying the fact that the new Sky is having to deal with the old Sky's decisions. It's been fun. It's been fun, kind of putting some of this back into play. For a little point of reference, some things that happened tonight happened are because of the one shot that ran on Unmade Gaming. Mm-hmm. So, for those interested, there are bits and pieces that are connecting, and this is another one of those bringing the two shows together in interesting ways. But so you can find me on and I'm sure there's something in chat. But thank you, you guys did amazing tonight. Again, absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Speedy, awesome RP. Thank you, Ari, awesome RP. Thank you, Trendane, for stepping up and going, and being Aldo, and then Grin, thank you for just bearing with us, because I promise you there's cool stuff going to happen.
Grin and Barry, nice.
Grin and Owlbare it.
Yes!
Jesus Christ. I'm good. God damn it. But yeah, thank you. Go follow Johnny on the Video Store Cowboy channel. I can't wait to see the stuff that he runs on there. There will at some point be more 6 and 20 content coming to that channel.
Absolutely.
So you should probably check him out as soon as possible. It's also worth noting this channel is a collaboration between the three of us, me, NotSoSpeedRuns, Johnny with Video Store Cowboy, and Mike of Unmade Gaming. Johnny is the DM on that channel, Unmade Gaming, as well, where it is taking place in the same world. So if you were at all curious about some of the things that happened today, about a character named Orange Crush, about someone named Aldo, about all of these strange, mysterious things going on at the brothel, those are all things that you could have learned by watching the same story going on over on Unmade Gaming. So go over to that channel as well to see part of it. Yes.
I actually have a question about Aldo. Wasn't that also the name of the inspector?
Yeah, see, that was why I was very confused. I was like, wait, he's working there now, and he's 16.
No. So there are two different Aldos. So Aldo, Inspector Aldo, is somebody very different than Aldo, the courtesan in training.
Was Aldo the courtesan in training? Did he exist before tonight?
He did exist before tonight, although I made a bad choice in choosing his name again. So we may retcon that next week.
Okay,
we'll have a conversation on screen. I regret the name choice. It's just the first thing that came into my mind, and I went shit.
Yeah, I was like very concerned.
Yeah, so
imagine the conversations of like, we need to talk to Aldo. Wait, Aldo? Yeah, that Aldo. No, not that Aldo.
Aldo the younger.
I was like very confused because in the last episode,
Junior,
things didn't end so well for Aldo.
No.
And as a result,
did not have a good end.
No, yeah, he was. I mean, he made it to the brothel, yes, just not in a position that would be one where I would think he's up and walking around and flirting with people the next day. And so I was like very confused. I was like, wow, they broke him. They broke him good.
Right now, we're gonna call him Clav.
Clav.
The new Aldo from this show the young man from that is Clav.
Let's just redub over that part and.
Although I like what Ish has to say in chat. It's the Dread Pirate Aldo.
Of course.
Yes. It's a name that's handed down from Dread Pirate.
Generation to generation. Yep.
Yes. All right, but yeah, absolutely. You should absolutely go see what's going on the other channel. If you've ever wanted to see anyone role playing incredibly brutal sexual content on Twitch, but only verbally, you should go check out Unmade Gaming. It is Mike's specialty.
I'm sure he's going to be proud.
Shots fired.
But yeah, thank you guys so much. We're gonna find someone for you guys to raid really quickly as we end off here. As I said, I'm Speedy, NotSoSpeedRuns. I am the host of this channel. We do D&D 3 times a week and variety streaming all the other times. So you can catch me playing D&D 5e on Mondays. And doing one-shots on Sundays in a variety of systems with a variety of guest DMs and players. If you at all are interested in playing on the channel, it is a lot of fun. All of these people, except MadameGandalf, actually, have been on one already, and they can attest to it. So absolutely consider signing up. !1shot in chat. Sometimes 2 shots. The last one didn't quite finish, and so we're going to be carrying it over.
Oh my
but
God, euphemisms.
But yes, we are going to go off on a raid, and let's go ahead and send some love over to Momo Mischief. She's a fantastic streamer. She does a lot of other D&D and role-playing stuff as well. She's currently playing World of Warcraft, but she's a cast member on Encounter Roleplay, and I believe she's starting up another show very soon. Last I saw, she was doing some really cool art for it. So I'm just going to shout her out right now. Oh God, I need to spell mischief right. Yeah, so go over there. We're gonna go ahead and spam NotSoSpeed raid, and show her some love from the 6 and 20 Phantom crew. Thank you guys for coming out and watching, and just the ridiculous and subversive fun that we had tonight. I'll see you all next time, and as always, don't forget to take it slow. Bye!
I want to kiss.